Lat B, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the Lat B Podcast.
Welcome back to Lat B MMA Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Emmanuel, here with one of the best co-hosts you could ever have, leading the Fight Pit Championships. We got Cheney coming in first.
Coming in hot. And you know, that's why I wear my sunglasses.
Woo!
Because my future's so bright.
Oh, looking good.
My future's so bright.
Getting a tan over here.
And you know what else is, let me just explain to everyone what it's like up here in the 900 Club.
Woo! Can you breathe?
Well, not only can I breathe, I got wings. I'm only worried about Alpha at this point, so my decision is I'm going to wait until Alpha puts his picks out every time and just do the same picks as Alpha from here on out. The exact same. So I'm going to be that person on The Price is Right that when you're like, I think that refrigerator's 600, and I'm going to be like 601. Wouldn't it be
The
awful?
tactics are real.
Yeah. So remember when he used that threat on me? I'm using it back.
Here you get. Be careful. Comes at ya. So, definitely a hot weekend of fights. Man, we had some amazing showcasing.
I've been wearing them too long.
If you want to catch our recap, go to Fights of the Roundtable. You're going to be able to get us the night of, after everything went down, our hottest takes. And it's definitely a fun time getting together with some MMA legends out there.
And everybody, it's been hard to find the Fights of the Roundtable on YouTube and on Vocal and on Discord. But just keep looking for it. We haven't really released any audio versions of it yet because I've still been trying to perfect or do something with the intro. And we've been practicing on how we were kind of go down, how we were going to end. I think we're getting more of a format, which if you're a fan of the show, it's pretty similar to what we do. We do it kind of from the bottom to the top and then talk shit in between.
Absolutely, and just talk about the entire night directly after.
And we do it with Ricky and Buddy over from MMA Marks, but everybody from the Fight Pick Championship is welcome into it, and that's why we're starting to do it on Discord. I think over the Get Vocal, it might lock at 4 in the room.
Okay.
And Discord welcomes a lot more people, so maybe not just the Fight Pick people, but maybe you guys can hop over on Discord, and maybe we'll have a Fights of the Roundtable, our own little thing, so people can jump on
the Backlog channel, if you're looking. And that's going to be where you're going to be able to find all of that.
We'll see if King Backlog will throne us with our own little spot for us to talk shit. But I would love it if Backlog was on too. And for you techie nerds, if you ever want to, Backlog has some great videos at how to do all this.
Tutorials?
Yeah, tutorials. Forget it.
Well, the only turds coming in for Lat B over the weekend was none.
I got 1 and 2.
Woo! 1 and 2 coming in hot. What'd you end up getting over the weekend overall?
75.
Nice points. Were you 8 of 11 or 10 of 11 over the whole night?
I think, I don't know. I can look. I will look right now.
Definitely.
But everybody's been talking about it. That was the talk of Twitch yesterday. That's where I'm like, you should come on more and hang out with these guys. Everybody was touting off about your perfect score. And they were even trying to explain to people who weren't UFC fans how pretty impossible that is to do.
Thank you. I have heard none of it. I need to get on there more. Day job and your boy going to school.
What did Evil Twin say about it?
He congrats one of the few times. So only...
Even a shit pick to go your way. And afterward, I thought it was kind of...
My only switch. Yeah,
and it was... what one
Sakai versus Ivanov. I picked Ivanov on the show, and after weigh-ins, I just felt like Sakai.
But I also felt like, I thought it was like, I think maybe it was Carlisle should have won that. But no, after rethinking it, Quarantillo should have totally won. And I thought, watching that fight, that was a brass pick. Brass balls. I think so. Really? Even though it was such a close fight, watching it, if you weren't educated in fights, it looks like, Carlisle carried him all over that mat. But knowing what about control time and actual percentage of shots landed.
Well, I will say, as you're saying, there was a bit of luck in there because that first round would have went Carlisle's if he didn't walk away and get dropped in the last 3 seconds. But that's a fight game.
Hey, that's a fight game.
That's a fight IQ. And why you end up picking some of these guys, Quarantillo having that heart of a fighter. So it was definitely a great show in here. If you're following at Zol tonight, 5 on Tapology in the world.
Oh,
number
and
5, I think I scored.
Oh, wow. That's
In the
awesome.
world.
That's hard to do.
In the world.
The other thing real quick is, I know we drop commercials and shit, but if you follow us, we will repost fight pick or fights of the round table, the links and stuff. And
Definitely.
it happens immediately after the fight. So stone, drunk, high, fighting, whatever your gig is, you can just turn it on. You're bored. You can listen to us talk shit about the fights. I got 8 of 11.
That's what I thought it was, which is still a great showing, over 50%.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't mind getting second place from here on out. I hope you get first. I'll get second. I just want to get second close enough that you don't end up beating me. But as long as the belt's here, I'm okay with it. It's going to be here anyway.
It's going to be here. There's no way. People don't see it. There's many fights. So, we got a fun one coming up. UFC 250 on pay-per-view, headlined by Amanda Nunes, by up-and-comer Felicia Spencer at 145 pounds. 70 bones you're going to have to put down. Now that Bones Jones is walking the streets, you're going to have to put your money somewhere. And this is probably going to be the pay-per-view you're going to do it for.
What do you think about Bones Jones walking the streets, protecting against the looters and the rioters?
Good for him. Hey, it's better than shooting your gun off in the air at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Running over pregnant ladies.
Yeah, cry. Exactly. So, good for him. Good publicity.
Yeah, it's a
he
perfect
needs
thing
it.
to do.
Absolutely.
You know, just be safe, John Jones.
Absolutely. So, he's in reverse. You know how it's you live long enough as a hero to become a villain or see yourself become a villain. He's a villain becoming a hero.
He's going to live long enough as the villain to become everyone's favorite.
Exactly. He's going to flop a few times. Nuts for
what about
John
the
Jones.
him Ngannou Dana thing going on?
Hate it. It's all talk. It's all fight talk. There's many fights for John Jones. Is he going to retire? Probably not. But he will get a pay increase regardless. There's no way he won't now that he's talked about stepping away. They can't offer him less money. He's only in a new renegotiation potential coming forward, as Ngannou is.
People say that Ngannou was dumb for even throwing his hat in that ring. Like, he should just stick to his place.
He's going to get paid a lot more money than he ever has, but that is a very losable fight for him.
Yeah, if anyone can do it.
It's fucking John Jones.
But I think the same for John Jones. It's a very losable fight for him.
That's why you got to pay them. That's why you got to fucking pay them.
Speaking of going up in weight, we all know my awful pick on T. Woods. And T. Woods lost to Gilbert Burns handedly. People are saying for T. Woods' career, maybe moving up to 185 might be the move for him. Like, he used to wrestle at 174, and, when he was in college, like 18, and now he's, almost 40, and he's less weight than that. Like,
sure.
Maybe him going up can kind of be the the Santos of 205, and I could see it.
T. Woods never making a title run at any weight. I think he does an Hector Lombard, where he beats people, and then slowly people start to make a name off of beating him. The only hard part for him is going to be he's only going to be facing high-level contenders, but he hasn't had that drive for a few fights now. We profiled it a bit. I like to call it the PMP, plus Money Cuesta. Gilbert Burns coming in over the weekend as well.
At the top, though, with Gilbert, with Colby, with...
all of them eat them up, but we said, I think we beat them to the punch because we already named all those names and we're like... I'll tell you.
And we all know, and Woodley knows too, he's an intelligent cat. He knows he can't beat those guys. But there's a lot of fights that all of a sudden are intriguing in the 185. To me.
I still think at 175.
Him just sitting there as a gatekeeper and letting people make
a name out of him. Yep.
I don't know. I think he could still be a main card draw fighting at 185 against some stuff that's intriguing to me a little bit.
Honestly, the best option for T Wood right now is probably actually stepping away and going to Bellator or PFL.
T Wood versus Bobby Knuckles and Kelvin at 185. Those are
I would
fights that he
love
already
to see
have.
those, but he's not going to be clearing those paychecks for such harder fights at this point in his career.
But are they? Everybody out there is a 170er. Like, or most of the people.
A lot of them moving up.
Till he
You're right.
already wrecked, and Till just went up, and he had this whole rejuvenation to his career. Everybody loves Till again.
All of the divisions.
And he was on like 3-loss streak or something.
Right.
So maybe everybody would love T Woods again at 185. I mean, not that they ever loved T Woods.
I think he goes to Bellator. I think that's the best option. That's if you're listening to me, there's some free money there, T Wood. Go to Bellator. You're gonna get paid for a lot easier
more money
fights.
and championship, probably.
Probably, and regardless, there's going to be one guy that might challenge him. Everyone else is going to be pretty easy fights. So that's a fun way to start off this 12-card pay-per-view. It's been all sorts of short notice replacements coming in. Not as crazy as the previous weeks. There is a lot more depth here. We do have a lot more tape study on these guys. Not a debuter in sight. So that was fun for the tape. I got to watch all sorts of... I was staying up all night. You don't even know me. I was jiggling in bed. My girlfriend was like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just watching this knockout. Oh, whoo.
I'm watching Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, I'm watching Sam Hagen. Woo, Jesus. Oh, I need to take a shower. So...
She's like, let me watch.
There was just all sorts of amazing footwork all over the night. And you know how we always started here, from the bottom to the top. It goes on with Evan Dunham, the long-time title contender, now at the end of his career, coming in against Hilbert Burns, the lesser of the Burns brothers. You know we have a big Lat B logic here, and we're always like, there's one good one, and not one not so much. Not so much. Gilbert Burns so far has shown he's pretty good. He is 10-2, lost via decisions only. Also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Showed us some of his striking acumen in that last fight against Landwehr. I had Landwehr, who just had a showcase fight recently, but Gilbert Burns showing that knee off and getting one of the first finishes he's ever had via his hands. He tends to be more of that submission fighter. At 32 years old, he is by far the younger fighter at old 38, I feel like, for Dunham. Dunham's on a 2-fight losing streak. He ended up getting the majority decision to Beneil Dariush. I don't know if that was overturned. I feel like it was the steroids. But that was Dunham trying to get a leg up already at 36, let alone 38. He's running his own gym, doing all that stuff. I can't say he's in the same spot as a lot of these other guys because I know he was a financial consultant like back in 2007 and left to do his MMA gym and stuff. So maybe he's doing good in the stock market, playing that DraftKings stock, making money, if you know what I'm saying. But he's definitely lost a step all the way around. He's a great fighter, black belt as well on the ground. I feel like Dunham is getting overlooked a little bit here.
I love that you said that.
Just because he is on the tail end of his career, but Gilbert Burns is still too brand new. He beat one guy that also beat someone on the end of his career.
If you look at Dunham's losses and his wins, it is against the top
elite.
Yeah,
sure.
It's against guys that even if they're not at the top right now, they were at the tippity top when he fought him. And I think, Herbert's getting all this shine because it literally was the same shot that Herbert finished his last fight with that finished Dunham the last time.
Right.
It's like the same knee to the liver or kidneys or something. I think all Herbert's shine right now is how good Gilbert just did.
I totally agree, and that's why the line is super off.
It's like I have Herbert because I can't be this way. I just don't like Dunham all that much. But Dunham can make it a super boring fight and out wrestling him if he can avoid that knee for the first round and just get a takedown on that or keep at distance. I think he can make this a really boring fight and eke out a decision to an easily lesser fighter, in my opinion, as far as skill set.
Definitely someone that we haven't seen as proven, and I think you're absolutely right. I'm totally in that vein. Minus 225 for Burns is too much.
Crazy. That's crazy.
But in that same vein, it's the fade train on Dunham, and I've been fading a lot of these
If
bets.
you got a little money to throw around, I think you put Evan Dunham and you put Felicia Spencer. get salty, and we'll see if there's anything else to come along. But because of how big of underdogs they are, in my opinion, that it's unwarranted. How big of underdogs. I think you could maybe make like where you're like, oh, I put $8 down and made $300. It's like one of those weird ones. So I have Herbert Burns because he should have all the tools. He's at the same camp. He's with the same guys. He should be able to grind this out, get in a tie clinch, fucking knee to the gut somewhere. We're done and done. But gosh, what do we like? Herbert Burns has never been exciting to us. This would be like us putting it all on David Tamura.
That's thank you.
or the mistake I made last week, Antonina Shevchenko.
Trying to tell you.
Yeah, you did. You were like, oh, girl. But I will say for my own right, when it was just stand-up, she was piecing up Chookagian. But who saw Chookagian coming in with the Shevchenko game plan? The Val game plan of takedown.
I retweeted a couple guys that I was chatting with online, and I was saying, hey, the stand-up's going to be close, but Antonina's a fish on the ground.
You did not say that on the show.
I did not say the fish on the show. I retweeted it.
That's why I need to be following you on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Tonight.
And it just came out to be true, but man, it was such an interesting dynamic there. So
I've talked shit
we're getting
too,
hyped
on
here.
Twitch. I've talked shit a little bit on the Twitch about, I'm like, what? I haven't got my shit on. Everyone's like, E knows the shit. You gotta follow Lab B. You gotta follow Lesbo and the Bean. You gotta follow E. E knows the shit. Blah, blah, blah. But I realized if I don't have, even if my picks are different sometimes, if I don't have this conversation to bounce it off of, 88% of the time, they're in the shitter. Like, I need the conversation there. I need
to break
to
it
go all the
down,
way
sure.
through it.
We can talk through it, and definitely, I love when people comment and ask, like, hey, why am I going with this? Because sometimes I can change my mind before weigh-ins. I can change my mind before fight big championships, before the fight starts. As long as I put it out there that I change my mind. So definitely love what you're saying. I got Burns' decision. I had a submission, but I agree. I'm giving that savviness. We like to tell you guys to stay away from these first ones on DraftKings because there's so many variables. And here, for Burns at 8,900, it's going to be a steep price against Devin Dunham, 7,300. He's going to end up being minus 225 for Burns. Out of the two, I'm going to put 10% of Burns, Dunham, nowhere. But I'm not going to go heavy with Burns. I think people are going to be very upset once they get a like 60 to 70 points. Of course, there's always that flash knockout, but that's more of the changing of the guard than the necessary skill set.
And this is the time we have so many gamblers that have no other sports going on right now, and their options are I either watch NASCAR or UFC. I guess I'll gamble on UFC or go to UFC DraftKings. Evan Dunham may not be the play, or he might be a DraftKings play. He might have enough point. Herbert, I do not see. Maybe one card.
We tell you guys to stay away.
Stay away.
Right?
This means to stay away.
Right? This is going to be a stay away. I'm a degenerate. I'll play a little bit of that. Burns side only.
Did it work out for
you? Did it what?
Did it work out for you last week? And that would be another thing on our Twitch channel.
Did have...
For Lat B, there would be one that would be like, whoa, wait, Jerry. That would be like,
I did
made
have
the money. It would cost like
Gutierrez.
$25,000.
I had Gutierrez out of both fighters on that. On my DraftKings cards out of any of them. So it did work out for me. Because I cashed.
I have not even looked at my DraftKings since.
Ooh.
I don't even know. There could be.
Ooh, 8 out of 11 is still a great night. Still definitely a great night. Beating a lot of professional bettors out there.
I did put Burns on something. So
good for you. Good for you. But moving on to 185 pound, 205 pounds. We got Devin Bear Clark, Big Brown Bear Clark, coming in against Alonzo Menafield. This is put together about 3 weeks ago. Both of these guys have been on the up and down. I guess that's more Devin Clark than Menafield being a humongous favorite in here. Devin Clark last beating Daquan Townsend 3 months ago in a decision, losing to Span. Stocic. You know how we feel about Brown Bear around here. His corner is probably his best part of his game plan. He comes in with those wrestling credentials and tree trunk legs, but he's really there to give you a decision or be finished.
He's got them thighs for my eyes.
Absolutely.
I think Devin Clark should do a knockoff video on either like Lizzo or Cardi B. and it just be his ass and thighs up close, and then it backs off, and it's like Bill told Devin Clark.
Does he have a Twitch page? Can we pay him to get one of those like private videos or something?
What are those things called where you pay money to celebrities?
That's what I'm saying. Give me one of those.
Not TikToks.
Even then, I'll donate. I'll donate to a TikTok. We can figure this out, Devin Clark. Hit me up. Adzol tonight. So, Brown Belt Clark likes to go to decisions. He really likes to grind up against the cage. On the outside, he's not that good striking. He throws in some leg kicks every once in a while, but his gas tank really only goes into the middle of the second round. If that, it's really after the first. It's kind of him holding on to a lot of positions. And here in Menifeld, he's been nothing but a finisher on the Contender Series. He got a finish, but don't get it fucking twisted. Vinicio Moreira has been one of the best cash cows I've bet against all year. I've been telling you guys, he is not UFC caliber. So that was a softball. Paul Craig, little more credentialed, even though a lot of us in the know were like, his striking isn't all that good, especially if he can't get you down. But Paul Craig is still high-level competition. Devin Clark by far has the higher level in there, but when he takes a bigger step up in competition, he just can't. Against Townsend, he was a huge favorite to finish that inside. I don't know how he was supposed to do it because he rarely gets knockouts. He's really a decision fighter. But I feel like he can really muck this fight up, turn it into a grind fest, push him up against the 25-foot cage. Because don't think they rechanged the cage. They just wiped it down. It's the same fucking cage at the Apex Center. So a variable that we talked about on the last show that I feel like played out in finishes. With that, though,
it sure did. But you know what? It was one of the first things you ever told me about UFC. We talk about different stuff when you were first telling me, and you always preferred the smaller cage. You always had more action, more action, more action. And I like it too. That's not even right.
Exactly. But in here, there is a double-edged sword because if you can push someone in the cage before you get all that action going on, you can really just turn it into a grinding affair. And I feel like Devin Clark's going to be able to do that. He's going to give up probably 2 to 3 rounds in doing that, but he's going to be holding on for his life and muffling a lot of what Menifeld wants to do in there. Give me the humongous favorite. I feel like it's a little overblown here. I got a decision. Give me Menifeld. I do think he can be viable at DraftKings because I see him turning Clark into a punching bag, where Clark won't go down, but he'll just keep eating leg kicks, body kicks. And just, wait till the 3 rounds
hold on to him. Just hold on to him. Make it all an inside clinch game. But still, Alonzo will be points.
Right, will still be. So he is viable, but he's a little expensive for a decision fight.
I love that pick. I actually, hearing you talk through it, Devin Clark is definitely one of those people. Like, we could have a list of fighters who make you look bad.
Absolutely. You're so right.
Yeah. And
because he just holds on.
I almost think that could be called worst dance partner. Like if we were to have a something for the end of the year, who's been the worst dance partner of the year, where you can see somebody else is trying to get something going, but like whether it's Holly Holmes running or Devin Clark's holding on, or we talk about ladies all the time.
We got fights on later. Yeah, exactly.
Some people just stifle you and make you look bad. Devin Clark's definitely one of those people that can eke out the decision. But if you look at his track record, it is downtime. And Menifield's kind of a guy on the way up. He's kind of at his peak right now. It's weird that he's older than Devin Clark, because Devin Clark's older to us in UFC years. So give me Menifeld decision more, because every fight is a fade for me on Clark. He was one of those guys I never thought was UFC caliber, and he actually has gotten better and made me eat my words. But give me Menifeld. I'm going to stay away from this fight, too. I actually see low scoring.
That's the way I kind of talk myself through it. I just can't bet on a guy that gets rear naked choke without the hooks in. That's just so
I just think there's
crazy.
Something about, to me, if I am looking, me personally, from behind my eyeballs, I'm looking across at Alonzo Menifeld, terrifying. Me behind my eyeballs, looking across at Devin Clark, terrifying. They got to be terrifying to each other.
Sure.
So I feel like somewhere in there's a stagnation in the fight. So 9,000 even for Menifeld against Devin Clark, 7,200 for the underdog. Menifeld minus 220, plus 180. I like what you're saying. I'm going to have, again, that 10% exposure that I'm saying against Burns. And it's only going to be Menfield's way. Devin Clark is a DK kryptonite. He does not like DraftKings points. Yeah,
so
that is so true.
Definitely not someone I'm going to be looking to play out of the two fighters.
Do you think T. Woods could beat Devin Clark?
Talk about the most boring fight you've ever seen in your life. And 205, though. That's not even 85.
I'm even asking at 205. You think T. Woods right now walk up at Devin Clark beat him? You think T. Woods could beat Alonzo Menifield?
No.
Huh. Okay.
Styles make fights. At 125 pounds, we have a profile fight here with Jussier Formiga coming in against Alex Perez at 125
I'm
pounds.
already going to call it right now. Even the way I feel about the first two fights and even looking at this one, I'm saying it now. I think tonight may be a night of underdogs. I think a lot of underdogs are going to come off tonight. I think that's parlay night 250. I don't know who, I don't know what. I don't have the magic formula for you. Maybe I will after weigh-ins, but I really do. Even this fight, I saw Perez and how hot he is, and I'm like, y'all are overlooking my boy Jussier. Sorry, go on.
Agreed. He's someone we've been able to cash on a few times here, coming in as a big underdog against the Figueiredo in there, beating Sergio Pettis as well, and Ben Nguyen. Formiga has good takedowns.
I love Formiga.
Ironclad gas tank. Solid head movement. His striking is more a means to an end, not as in he's trying to finish you. It's more just he strikes long enough to try to get a takedown. When he does get stood up and extended in striking bouts, that's when he tends to start to lose these fights. And at 35 years old, at 125 pounds, he's ancient. He's fucking ancient. There's just not too many guys that go super long at the lower weights. He last got beat by Brandon Moreno and Joseph Benavidez, which isn't the worst in there. Those are definitely high caliber guys. But those wins against Figueiredo, the uncrowned king right now, champion against Benavidez, it's like that's a huge win. Formiga, again, we know what we're getting. He needs to get it to the ground. Once he's on the ground, he does have an advantage even over Alex Perez, who tends to be the American-trained wrestler. State credentials in there in wrestling, never a college wrestler. I believe he went right into that MMA. He's coming off of a 2-fight winning streak to De La Rosa and Jordan Espinoza via triangle. Don't get it twisted. Those guys are not on that Formiga level. Joseph Benavidez is the closest level competition, and here at Lat B, we cashed on Joseph B against Perez.
Joey BB.
It was that headbutt, though. When you go back and look at that fight, Joey B headbutted the fuck out of him in that fight. But either way, Perez has gotten back on track since then, gotten it together, and really rounded out his game well. This fight, for me, I love to bet on Formiga, but it's specifically in fights where it gets to the ground. I feel like Perez is a wrestler, striker, not too much of a kickboxer, more of a kickboxing stance. Got a good left hook in there. Not tons of power, but he can keep a great gas tank as well. But I just like the way he stuffs takedowns. And against Formiga, that's something you absolutely need. If it gets to the ground, I feel like Perez will be able to hold Formiga off, but he might lose the rest of that round.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see a submission coming out of it. So I'm going to squeak out Perez in a decision here, but I think this one's close. This is, for me, a profile. This is a fun fight.
I totally agree.
I'm really excited to see this
Do
one.
you think it's, we didn't talk about the judges, and we haven't I didn't notice we had so many finishes, we couldn't really rate how the Apex
Sakai
judges were doing.
Ivanov was the one that people were upset about but it was more the fence grab.
Yeah, that's bullshit. But if it's not called by the ref, you can't expect your judges to count.
Truth. But it was a 30-27, 29-28. 30-27 Ivanov.
Close.
No, 30-27 Ivanov, 29-28, two judges, Sakai. So that's pretty. One judge saw the fight fucking backwards.
Different, yeah. I want to give Juicy. I think Perez is actually going to have more hands. I think more strikes laid, maybe even more significant strikes. Juicy isn't bad. I just think he relies on his punches into takedowns a little more, for sure. I'm hoping Alex Perez is just on the upswing here, and this is going to be one of those fights that be like, well, it was Jussier Formiga when he was really still Jussier Formiga for what it was all it was worth. We watch these Brazilian guys still hold it together as far as their age, that we watch them get this like second wind at 35 until they're like 38. I like Alex Perez. I'm going to go with... I like Alex Perez's entire game plan. I like him for the division. I even think he could potentially be a future champion. I'm just going to give it to Formiga here. it's weird because I know he's the favorite. It seems like a lot of people on Tabology have Juicy A as well. But I think Formiga might be my underdog of the night right now.
Nice. Plus 115 right now.
I like Formiga decision. I like him eking it out just by constant takedowns, where even if Alex Perez is even doing more damage off his back or doing submissions, but it's going to just be one of those Juicy A point fights. He could get knocked out too. A new category that I was even thinking too we could have was who has the worst glass jaw, and it's by far Juicy A here. Who can't take a shot? It's by far Juicy A.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like he's still pretty. He's got a pretty good chin on him.
Yeah, just with the amount of talent that he's gone against, it is leaps and bounds of different levels to this game, and he's closer to the tip of the pyramid. He's been there a few times.
He has been there a few times.
I'm going to go with Formiga decision, and I just think this makes Alex Perez better.
This seems like a dirty split, if I've ever heard one.
I 100% agree with you.
If I've ever heard one.
Dirty split.
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,300 for the minus 145 favorite. Alex Perez against Formiga, $7,900 plus 115. On DraftKings, do you think you're going to have much exposure here? We both have a decision. Those don't tend to score well unless a guy finishes, especially in that mid-range.
But sometimes the smaller the fighters,
the more
punches they lay, and the easier they consider something significant. I just have this whole theory. It's like the same for women. Like, for some reason, they'll all of a sudden give women, you're like, really? Did Jessica I really lay that many significant strikes? It always goes back to Jessica I. No matter how hard I try.
She's coming up next weekend.
I know. That's probably why it's
Alpha's #1 girl. Gonna be headlining a pay-per-view.
That's Alpha's real #1 girl, or are you being shitty?
He knows. He knows.
He got that evil eye.
Exactly. I seen that evil eye on a podcast once.
If we're gonna, speaking of Alpha and just the Twitch community, holy shit, it's pretty nice. Like, what nice people.
Definitely great people everywhere.
Being in the conspiracy world for as long as I have been, and the trudgery of the slime balls in the sewer that you have to climb through, and the amount of people that are like, whatever conspiracy shill they want to call you, like lizard person or thing, it's so nice and refreshing in the gamer community, and the amount of different games and people that you can go and support, and if you don't like them, you can leave. I love Twitch. I can't say it enough.
You have definitely been on it.
Well, I like it too because I can put on one of my wife's shows, like her Real Housewives or her shit, and I can share time with her. She's doing something else, maybe on her iPad or doing something artsy, and then I can have an earphone in and still be next to her, but be on Twitch. And I have realized that every once in a while. I was on somebody else's stream. The president, I don't know his numbers after his name, but I was watching him do Apex, and I could hear the Alpha in that dude's stream's background.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like he was in Alpha's
wow.
group. But I was in the group before Alpha came on, and then he was talking like, oh, Alpha, I'm going to go in this group right now. And he's newer to Apex, and you said you were going to learn Apex?
Yeah, I'm garbage at it still.
I am so I just try to make it through the training.
Oh, good.
I find myself getting bored before I can't figure out. I figured out how to slide. Like, oh, okay.
I have two experts showing me, 8 and a 10-year-old. They have been showing me how to play, so they don't know all the buttons yet either, so we're all learning together.
The other funny thing, I was like even in the training, where's the other weapons? I have to find another weapon. I looked all over this board like, for an hour on the most boring board that I'm like, I feel like I'm on Fallout, and they were right behind the wall, like right behind the original. But I just don't know if I'm good under pressure like that, of getting chased.
The more you play, we can even practice together. We'll get on some teams out there.
Your brother and his wife do Call of Duty?
Correct.
Is it all kind of the same shtick?
Yeah, it's just different weapons and different dimensions. It's a different dimension.
That's a great
but the
way
same
to put
thing.
It.
Yeah.
Because I think I watched somebody do like Call of Duty last night, and it was totally Germany. Like Germany 1942.
Yeah.
And it was like, and there was like German voices, and they were dropping it on parachutes. And there was one, like, this is the silly shit I'm impressed with. I'm like, wow, you're really good with that parachute. Like, you just free fall and then just slowly drop on a building.
Yep.
Anyways, speaking of, we can move on.
Definitely to another fun one we have at 185 pounds. We have Charles Bird coming in against Maki Pitolo. Patolo coming in with a 12-5 record, almost 500. Interesting. I didn't think he should have got that. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'm getting confused with a different Hawaiian fighter in there. But Patolo, I think his agent is Ali Abdelaziz.
My favorite.
But he's coming off of the Contender Series with a KO, last losing to Callan Potter, who was known as a journeyman, who's a 38-year-old debuter. Maybe I'm off on the years a little bit there. But either way, Callan Potter just showing his toughness and showing that the grind can beat this power puncher. Patolo has a good amount of submissions in there, but he tends to get him off of his strikes. He really hurts you first, and then he'll jump on a guillotine or an arm triangle or something. He doesn't necessarily set up his submissions technically on the ground. He's not somebody who works from the bottom, gets to the side. He's just like, oh, I hurt you, and while you're stunned, jumps on it. Viable way to get it. Yeah. But it is a little misleading as far as his jiu-jitsu credentials. He can get stuck on the bottom, as Callan Potter showed, and not get up. And that's, that really changes the game when you're thinking about betting someone. But that raw power is there for Patolo. He throws that right hand hard to the body and head, mixes it up well, and has caught many fighters. But the regional scene in the Contender Series is a lot harder once you start meeting your Callan Potters. Once you start meeting all these high-level UFC fighters, it's a big step up to 29-year-old.
Can I also say about Maki Patolo real quick for the YouTube audience, the Tapology? And I think this is going to be our first time on YouTube in a while. For some reason, I feel like
it hasn't been loading on there. We apologize.
Kinda, but you could also follow us on all the audio formats.
We're everywhere.
If you really missed the show, but I do feel like I might have missed last show and all the time in between all those baby shows. I don't know if those were on, so this could be our first time back in a while. So anyway, Patolo, that hat he's wearing right there. That is the Air Jordan knockoff, and they put a staff in his hand and a shield.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, they were like, we'll make it a Hawaiian warrior. Yeah. And anyways, I just wanted to point that out.
That is awesome. Definitely high-level breakdown. So, against Bird right now, coming off a 2-fight losing streak to Cheney's boyfriend, Edmund Shabazian, a year 2 months ago. Prior to that, losing to Darren Stewart.
My favorite fighter right now.
There's a good reason for that. Good reason for that, and it's not the fight style. So Charles Bird.
I think he's so well rounded.
No, I totally am being a jackass. He's a great fighter.
I think his boxing's so crisp, and the thing that's super how long he is. Yeah, he's my new. Yeah. It's nice getting on with a young kid.
Seeing him grow.
It's been a long time. Yeah, I've watched Max Holloway for so long, Tony, all this. Anyway,
sure.
Bird.
So Bird coming off a 2-fight losing streak to some better level guys in there. Before that, he's on a 10-6 record, but beating John Phillips isn't that crazy. Getting a lot of these submissions in there, triangle choke. He's in the same boat as Patolo, where he'll get these submissions off of hurting guys with strikes, but as you were saying, who has more of a glass jaw? Bird is in that. Yeah. He's in that train. He does have a little bit of a glass jaw, but he has a beautiful straight left hand. He moves forward in well. The thing that sucks with Bird is that he will be winning his whole career. He'll be 10-8ing guys and get caught with one left hand and be on wobbly legs and get finished. His chin is just very suspect, and his cardio going into that third round can really be an issue. But Patolo's in that same boat. I think Patolo actually has the worst gas tank out of both of these fighters. Yeah. So this is one that I think I got to have exposure to both guys. 36 years old isn't pushing me off of Bird too much at this age. He has looked good even though he's lost his last two. I feel like he gets back on track and beats Mackie round number 2 TKO, but I'm tentative. I think I'm going to actually have Mackie on a few of those DraftKings cards. I don't think this one goes the distance if I'm making a bet.
See, I either have Mackie for a round 2 KO or Bird by decision, and I can't decide between the two. I definitely don't like Bird's age in there. I do like that Mackie's fighting up for the first time at 185, and that...
great call.
is making me think that his chinny I'm not going to have to worry about, which makes me lean toward the KO. I think it's hard for Bird to make this, but we also see that thing where the guy just goes in there and they're a far bigger guy. Like the other guy does not have muscle built up for it yet. And I think Patolo, like, is this a super short notice fight? I mean, a short notice for everyone.
Yeah, essentially 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, gosh, Charles Bird, I think both guys, I mean, here's things. Obviously, everybody needs the money right now. Patolo's the younger guy. I'm going to go with Patolo. I'm going to go with the Patolo knockout over the Bird decision. I like a guy that just gets to keep his weight on a little better and take the fight at a higher weight class over the guy on short notice. That's like, I'm going to get into a full camp. I'm going to get down to fight weight. I'm going to cut 22 pounds in the last week and see. But you know what I think? Stay away from this fight. I don't put it anywhere.
I think that you're definitely. Oh nope.
Yeah, you want to.
I want to play this one,
guys. I think I'm gonna play up. I like maybe the next fight going forward.
I'm gonna end up on DraftKings. You got Bird as 8,800 against Maki Patolo 7,400. We got Maki being the plus 150 underdog. I feel like it's dog or pass in this situation. For 8-8, Bird is too untrustworthy. It's kind of Mackie or nothing. I'm going to have 10% Bird, 20% Patolo. But that's a hard one to call out of the night. Definitely a hard one.
Gosh, another underdog. Another underdog thought that it's too, like the numbers are too far spread.
That one's like pretty close on the lines. But yeah, I do agree that it should be even closer than the lines indicate right now. It's definitely a toss-up. Then we move on to 145 pounds, where we have Cody Stamann coming in against Brian Kelleher. If you want to say short notice, I think this one's about 14 days out. Kelleher getting a huge win. How long ago? 2 weeks, 6 days ago? 21 days ago?
And did Cody Stamann have a different fight booked? What's the story on Stamann? We know where Kelleher was at 3 weeks ago. What's Cody Stamann?
Stamann got that majority draw decision against Song Yadong with that illegal strike, but I don't think he's had anything on the books. I feel like he's just been getting ready. I do follow him on that Insta. He's one of those guys that posts a bunch of training footage. Looks like he's in shape. He tends to be a decision fighter at 18-2. Doesn't have tons of finishes in there. Kind of a split decision king in there. He usually ends up on the better side of it, and that's just because of his volume. Tends to be a little bit more. His output tends to push a little bit higher. Kelleher is a perennial underdog who always is cashing big. Against Osborne, cashed huge. Against Azur, cashed big. We bet him against Barao as well. We bet him on other spots. Kelleher is one of those guys who will always fight for your money. But there is spots in there where I feel like he is a momentum player. He's one of those guys that in the Lineker fight, in the Jackson fight, the reason that they were finishes for him was the same reason that he got wins. He went with the momentum. If he's winning, he starts to turn it up, get going, and he starts throwing shots that he wouldn't normally throw when he's all of a sudden on the back foot. Against Lineker, he didn't get that loose.
He's kind of like a basketball player that made his last 3 shots?
Absolutely. When he's on fire, he's definitely on fire. But if he's in a slump, I mean, it dramatically.
That was some pre-show. That would be if we ever did a Patreon, that would be the shit, is with the pre-recording when the camera starts and the bullshit we talk about before it goes up.
That might not be allowed on Patreon. That gets deep.
Some of it would be like, because we don't want to get killed by Hillary Clinton. Or at least me. I should just say me. I don't want to get killed.
But definitely.
He's a good patriot. He's a good patriot, man.
So
I do not want to suicide myself. I've said some shit if those pre-videos got released.
So with Kelleher here, great boxing, been throwing that calf kick really well. Has a great left hook and a left hand in general. Switches stance well and a good gas tank. That guillotine has also been money for him his entire career. Against Stamann, the D1 wrestler here, the cardio is going to be something that is going to get played into the third round. I think they both show well. I don't know whether this narrative of how recently Kelleher fights again changes how I view the pick. I didn't feel like it was, but the more the my pick is coming about. Kelleher didn't walk away unscathed. He did eat shots in there. He didn't get rocked. He didn't get hurt. But he did have a fight with somebody who was in his face for a matter of time.
That's a pool hall on a Friday night for Brian Kelleher.
Definitely. Do you think he healed from a minor concussion? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't think he necessarily got one. But I don't know. This short notice turnaround.
Do you think Brian Kelleher has been walking around with mild concussion since 85?
No, I don't. Well, since 85, probably. You're right on that one. But Boom Kelleher here, I think makes it a dirtier fight, and a lot of these fights have been a lot closer than the odds indicate. I feel like this one as well is completely wrong. Stamen shouldn't be this big of a favorite, but I do see him being able to keep it up. Got to worry about that calf kick from Kelleher here, but I feel like Stamen has been able to adjust to that in previous fights and use solid boxing to keep it there. I'm leaning slightly Stamen. I got to see weigh-ins to make my final pick, but that's a minus 250. Most people are all in on a minus 250. I'm not. I think this is really close. I think you got to look at Kelleher odds value alone here. He's a live dog. These odds are wrong, and I feel like that's a common thread so far tonight.
And then another common thread so far tonight should be no surprise that I'm going with Brian Kelleher. I think he has great takedown defense. He makes it dirty when it gets there. His scrambles are so ugly. He is one of those guys that has a killer chin. His stand-up defense is actually the top of his head. He'll just put his top of his head down and eat a couple shots on it and keep going forward. I think he has the better hands here. I think he has the better leg kicks. I think by far Stamen's wrestling's awesome. I think it's awesome at 135. Watching Stamen come up to 145 to await a scrappy guy like Brian Kelleher, I don't mind him keep coming down and doing all crazy shit. He seems like one of those guys that would take a fight every 3 weeks if the UFC let him. I think Cody Stamen, on the other hand, is very thought out, very planned. He's a guy that sees a title in his future, and I think all that pressure Brian Kelleher doesn't have. He wants to go out there, put on a show, and I think it's boom all day. I think boom Kelleher by the sneaky decision win. I think he could hurt him and pepper him KO. I do worry about Brian Kelleher's cardio a little more than I worry about Brian Stamen's, but Brian Kelleher has that. He's not going to lose that rhythm that you normally lose by the excitement of like UFC Octagon. Not that Cody Stamen has it, but it's been 5 months. It was sketchy his last fight, and give me another weird underdog. Boom, boom, boom. Brian Kelleher.
Definitely. Trying to make your money over there. Betting all these plus monies. I love them. I love a plus money bet. These are close. You are not out of line on any of these underdogs.
Oh, Stamen at 145 for the first time? That's not sketchy to you in any way, shape, or form?
He's a little short, and Kelleher's a little tall.
And when you rely on leverage for wrestling, and that sometimes the size and weight, that little bit of size and weight, that's why they have weight classes so strict in wrestling. Because it's everything. So a guy with the takedown defense of Brian Kelleher, is he as good of a wrestler? No.
Is it they're both 5'6"? I feel like Stamen, I keep saying he's shorter because he's the more muscle-bound fighter out of the two. Mm-hmm. So is he Dorginho Burns in it and going to be like, whoa, my gas tank's even better, where he's known to have good cardio?
Totally. Like every argument I just made with T. Woods.
Sure.
Cody Stamen comes up and slays. Because we know he has the wrestling and he's young enough to...
solid boxing.
To build up the boxing. I love fucking Brian Kelleher.
I agree. He's a good underdog to pick. He's a good underdog to pick.
He's one of my favorite. I feel like he's definitely up there in my top 5 underdogs that I made the most money on.
Totally. He's
and
someone you can...
It's so easy for me to punch my leg and feel strong about this because this ain't in my fight pick championship. So do with that what you will.
To this day, I will pick this one. To this day. As long as I don't that FPC. Then we go on to one of the most profile fights of the night here at Lappy. We got 2 heartthrobs coming in. Ian Heinisch coming in against Meatballs Gerald Mearshart.
I want to get Def Comedy Jam.
You're going to death drop on me? You're going to death drop on me?
Def Comedy Jam. I had to get out of my seat because these are 2 of my least favorite fighters where they've gotten weird splits, weird last fucking finishes, where...
Agreed.
I feel like have we seen Meatball fight in person? GM3?
No, we haven't, I don't think. We've seen a couple of these guys, but not No, not against Giles.
I know Heinich for sure. No?
Maybe. Let me
I just
do
got
some
Heinich
in-depth
mixed up with
research.
Steamroller Favola.
Oh, we've definitely seen Favola in here.
I just was racist.
I have a garbage record. I'm 5-5 with Mearshart is what I'm seeing here. I don't think we have seen him in person. But regardless, Mearshart's one of these guys we have seen a lot of in the UFC. Multiple fights, over 10 now. GM3, 31-12. Coming off of a win against Darian, one where Cheney was all over that Mearshart, getting all sorts of cash in.
Mearshart.
Definitely losing a split decision to Anders, beating Trevin Giles, losing to Kevin Holland in a split. Mearshart is in a ton of these splits. We like to say he's in a dirty split for a reason.
Yeah.
So he will give up takedowns because he doesn't mind being on his back. He likes to work, will throw up a lot of guillotines, triangles, chain wrestle, but at times he's been proven to be stuffed in some of those transitions, and he's given away fights by being on the bottom or just not having the cleanest of striking. Out of the output here, Ian Heinisch has been one of these guys where I've personally been on very high. It hasn't worked out for me lately, but he definitely cashed against Junior Dos Santos, or Junior and Ferreira in there, Carlos Cara de Zapato. Heinisch comes in with high-level wrestling, being a state champion wrestler, having a great gas tank. He relies on his chin a little more than I like to think. The more and more I go back on tape, the more I watch it every time again. When it's early in their career and I watch tape, I'm like, oh, he's good. He can take that. He hasn't been in those. Now he's been in those. Now I'm like, oh shit, dude, you're taking a lot of damage. And that doesn't get any better, regardless of the fighter. So Heinisch, both of these guys are kind of in that boat. They both eat a lot of shots. But out of both fighters, Heinisch shoots the takedowns and Mearshart gives them up and plays off of his back more. Heinisch has a lot of ground and pound output here, which I feel like will add up in this fight potentially. But at any given time, Mearshart is live for a submission here. Mearshart is sneaky and he has a good sneaky gas tank as well. It's why you like to play him, I feel like, a lot of the time. As we were saying earlier, somebody who's going to make that fight, what were we calling him?
He's a fight stifler.
Absolutely. In there. He's one of those that'll make it into a grinding, dirty split. Give me Heinisch in the dirtiest of splits. Mearshart's going to make it dirty. I got the slight favorite here.
They both make it dirty. Ian Heinisch is one of those guys that has a killer ground game unless somebody can stuff one of his takedowns, which is weirdly enough, Mearshart, as shitty as his takedown defense, I agree. He doesn't mind fighting off his back as well. But even if you look, if somebody has any wrestling credentials at all, then it tends to stay on the feet, and Ian Heinisch usually loses that fight. Everyone would be like, oh, shoe face. I think that's his best win, Ian Heinisch. I always been one of those guys that's like, shoe face only wins in Brazil. We kind of saw him on the downturn of his career until he only started fighting in Brazil. And I think Ian Heinisch capitalized once he realized, like, oh, he tries for these submissions after it's here. Okay. Ian Heinisch is like a guy that's putting these skills together, and it's almost like you could figure out his game plan. Whereas Gerald Mearshart is like, what's he going to do? What's he going to come out there and do? Is he going to play possum for the whole first round so you burn yourself out and punch him while he blocks and we all think the fight's over, and then when you go on your first takedown in the second round, he snatches up your neck? He's one of these guys that always, I feel like, as much as I pick him, and I can't pull up my percentages on here. Maybe I could on here. I don't want to on here. It's too neat looking. It's all clean. I feel like he fucks me. It's like the times that you shouldn't be able to win this fight. He ends up knocking someone out or catching a weird, overhand right, sloppy as hell, like Derek Lewis, just sloppy windmill punch and then catching somebody on the chin and then snatching up their neck. Heinisch, to me, seems like tried and true here, and he should have all the tools to be able to get a submission. I think this is going to be a weird night. I think there's going to be a lot of underdogs. Heinisch has even fought good enough competition to me that it shouldn't even be. Carlos, your brain should tell you he's the better version of Gerald Mearshart.
Both fighters, both Junior And, well, it's different. He's better in this kind of Tony Ferguson unorthodox way.
Yeah.
Where he gets it's not traditional. Where Heinisch has been able to defend the traditional stuff. Now we're going to see him against the wild card in here. In Mearshart, and it's why he's viable with your money. It's a close fight. I love what you're saying in here. We're thinking dirty split.
So hard. I like the Brunson pick because that wrestling, I think that Derek Brunson's wrestling is far better than Mearshart.
Yep.
And so that makes me think Ian Heinisch can keep it away from that if he needs to. The cardio is okay, but if you, like you're saying, I think it's that sneaky cardio that sneaks Mearshart out a fucking late submission. I think Ian Heinisch isn't a knockout artist. And if you're not a knockout artist against a guy like Gerald Mearshart, you are going to get caught. He's like the Paul Craig of the 185.
You agree?
So,
isn't Paul Craig in 185?
I thought he was a 205er.
You're right.
Maybe not. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Gerald Mearshart again. I love Ian Heinisch here. I think this is low scoring. Anyway, you cut it, and I would stay far away from it. Again,
what's your pick again there?
I'm going to go with Gerald Mearshart, and I think I'm going to go with... I like the round 3 sub. I think Ian Heinisch is smart enough to battle the hands and keep his head together in the fight. And gosh, I see more strikes landed by Ian. I see him being on top more than Gerald. I'm changing it. Heinisch's decision, but I'm staying away from this fight.
So on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,400 for Heinisch, the minus 130 favorite against Gerald Mearshart, $7,800 plus 100, even money on Mearshart. I don't think you're crazy by going with Mearshart there. On
I'm
average,
changing it to Heinisch.
You're changing it to Heinisch. But
I think he's tried and true everywhere. You need that good wrestling. He's smart enough, calm and cool in the ring. He's one of the guys that, like, he's not flashy. No one knows his name.
He moves forward.
Yeah, he's just under the radar, just moving through with, like, having all the basics covered really well.
Right. Other than, I would say, arguably some of that strike defense, but you don't have to worry about it with Mearshart. He's not a knockout artist per se. But on DraftKings, the interesting part of this fight is, on average, Mearshart averages 73 points to Heinisch's 53.
Huh.
So on average, Mearshart is the better play here. I'm going to have a little bit of...
kind of my boy. I feel like I always play Mearshart.
I'm going to play Mearshart at a 2, but I'm going to, as you're saying, I'm going to stay away from Heinisch because at 8-4, I think he's going to get the win, but he's going to score in that 30 points to 40 points and then get 30 points for the win. That means he's clearing 70 points. That's not worth 8. But Mearshart can get in that 60 points for 7-8. I think 10%, I'm putting Mearshart in there.
Because it's submission to 10th reversal. Submission to 10th reversal.
Right, ground stuff.
Yeah, maybe once in a while. When he does land, it usually is a significant strike because it is a big winging overhand of some sort. Who has the better leg kicks here? Either? Do we even think that with either of these guys?
I don't think it with either of these guys. I'm not going to say either guy stuck out to me.
Gosh, I'm changing back to Mirror but I don't see Mirror by decision. I can't even fathom
he wins
Mirror
dirty
by
splits
decision.
all the time, or loses them.
I'm picking Mirror decision.
So, a quick one. We did jump the shark a little bit here with Cody Stamann against Kelleher in DraftKings. Stamann being 9,100 as the big minus 250 favorite against Kelleher, 7,100. On DraftKings, do you think you're going to be playing
what
either
are your
of those
average
guys?
point score?
73 points for Stamann on 9,100 against 65 for Kelleher.
My boyfriend boom all day.
7-1. I agree. Kelleher's the safer money there. Not well. He's going to be the more value money. He's going to have the bigger floor.
I love all the underdogs.
There's so many underdogs.
I'm staying on the underdog train. I'm still driving. I'm at the boat. Front of the boat, I got one of those little bullshit tiny windows that only the driver of the boat gets protection and everybody else is like getting spit with water the whole time. So I'm smooth sailing, my hat's not getting blown off, my sunglasses are on tight. Everyone behind me is like that video of like Dana and Rhonda going over the waves and they all fall off. But I'm chilling. I'm staying with my underdogs because guess what? It's still not my big championship.
It's still not, but it's getting to that point. At 145 pounds, we had the headlining preliminary bout before the pay-per-view. Gonna be the last one on the preliminaries. We have Chase Hooper coming in against Alex Caceres at 145 pounds. Caceres, Bruce Leroy being a longtime Kimbo Slice disciple.
Who's the cuter kid here? I know we like to do that.
Well,
A lot of
Caceres is a grown
break
man.
this down.
Alex Caceres is a grown-ass man at this point.
But they're all kids to us.
True.
If we were to put him in the category, because we're the only MMA podcast breaking down looks, that's why you can get it here from Lat B. Who's cuter? Because they're kind of the same.
They're
just different.
They're different guys.
One of them has a little melatonin more in their skin.
I want to say I'm in that Caceres fan base.
I think he's cuter too.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit cuter. Hooper's, even though he's a fun kid with a personality, he's a little asshole-ish at times. Caceres is all love.
Why
all
couldn't
peace and love.
Caceres run with like, oh, Ben Askren's my dad? You'd be like, oh, I could see it.
Where were you, Ben Askren?
I know, where were you when I was trying to learn a ground game, Ben Askren?
Caceres, coming off of that Backstreet Fighting series, being an American Top Team disciple, going over to MMA Lab for 9 years.
We are on theme tonight. Because we are all full of fighters who make it boring.
Yes.
It's like every other fighter who makes it boring.
So the 15-12 fighter is now at, I had it earlier, where I did the research on Caceres.
Roundhouse?
He left.
I don't even know if that's a gem.
He's at MMA Fight Factory. It's something factory.
Pick
MMA.
another fighter there and I'll see if I can.
There is none.
Oh.
He is the only, there's only 4 other pro fighters. One of them has an 0-4 record. So he's training out of a garage.
Let's see if we can do a young Jamie
I think
search.
it's like Famous Factory Gym. And it's just low-level competition he's working with. I love Bruce Leroy's mentality. He's kind of like, I fight for a living. I don't live the fight. He's kind of just loves to compete. Will always kind of put up a fight in there, but gets a paycheck just because he's been in the UFC for years now. It's not a gym that you know of because nobody else. I think JJ Aldridge might have ties to a...
You're so right. That is a really clever thing to say. The amount, if you think of veterans in the UFC... who right now fighting, there's TJ still, we just saw Dom fight, there's DC, we have a couple people still fighting.
Sure.
But Alex is still so young. We still got another 3 years, maybe 4 years of him fighting if he wants to. And you can just think of him so far back.
He's been around he was fighting with Kimbo Slice and Jorge Masvidal when he was a teen on Facebook, MySpace. Days.
I have to do that.
Or, YouTube, MySpace days.
You know what we should do one day?
I remember
I've
watching
never seen any of those videos. If we did it on our Twitch channel for Lat B, which we don't have yet, but we are in the process. But we do both have Twitch channels that aren't on the business that we're going to drop after this fight anyway. And they're the same as everything else. Baby. But just FYI, if you guys are Twitchers, you know what would be really cool? For you to pull up old fights for me, which... By the way, Ricky and Buddy, I watched them do kind of an old fight where they acted like the announcers, where it was our version of the unbiased rewatch.
Okay.
But I think you could show me not only old fights, because there's so many that I don't know or never seen. But those backyard Miami fights, I've never seen any of them. Oh my God.
Any of them. Is that my sister's house? What is going on?
I know, but that would be so crazy for us to do it on Twitch and for you to break them down and be able to run through them with me.
I remember living in Japan, watching those fights in America and being like, dude, I wish I was stateside.
I wish I lived in Florida.
And I'm in Japan. I'm in fucking Japan training. Stupid ass. So, either way, Caceres in there, he's somebody who is just someone hard to get a beat on. He came in last beating Steven Peterson, putting in a great showing with a good jab, staying at distance on the ground. He's serviceable, but then he comes in and loses to Kron Ice Cream Gracie, beats Martin Bravo, loses to Wang in a split decision, which is out of nowhere. But he can just he's on the win one, lose one. He's definitely on a lose one right now. And the amount of hype this 9-0-1 fighter of Chase Hooper right now, a lot of that's coming into the line. Because if it was actual tape for tape study, Leroy is in so many leaps and bounds higher competition than Chase Hooper's ever had at 20 years old. Can't even buy a drink on this quarantine.
Right. Yeah, even look at how high everybody loves, what's the kid, Rodriguez, the Yair. Alex Caceres went to decision with Yair and kind of made it a really crazy, interesting fight. Maybe one of the fights of the year, some would have considered at the time. Even if you just think of that category of fighter, Alex Caceres has been in there with everyone.
Absolutely.
Chase Hooper is like one fight out of Dana White's contender
He
series?
beat one of our favorite fighters, Les. Some people may not know of him. He's a Les or Tamur brother. Just kind of, Antonina Shevchenko in that boat.
I think I might have had Chase Hooper in that fight.
Oh, because we made the bet here. We told you guys, hey, there's two of them, and it's not the good one. So.
I think that's another sign right there about the first fight of the night with Herbert. I'm just saying. I'm saying it again. I think I know you're not, but I think cement is raining slowly upon being the other sibling.
So what we've seen with Hooper is somebody who's very green, but still likes to be a dog in there and get it in there, get a fight going, even though he looks gangly and not necessarily like a fighter with his afro. Oh, I hope he didn't cut his hair, because if it is the battle of the afros...
That's what I'm saying. They're the same.
That'd be so dope.
I know this picture doesn't show it, but they literally look like the same dude, just a little ones that used a different Crayola.
6'1", though, for Hooper. He tends to be the taller guy, especially against Caceres, but Caceres has been against... everybody in there.
I also think Chase Hooper is one of those kids, because he is so young, that he's taller with a longer reach than this says.
Right, they undered it for sure. But he is going to have a reach advantage here. His striking, though, isn't as clean as Leroy's. Leroy will be able, even if he's shorter, to pick it out there. What I've seen with Hooper, even when he gets his wins, even though it was a finish against Tamur, it was set up after Tamur almost got him with that guillotine. Remember him kicking off of that fence?
Yeah.
We almost thought, let's get a win in there via submission. Throwing that fucking out there.
Yeah.
Caceres is a real black belt.
Way longer.
So... this is definitely a fight that I had Hooper coming into this, going submission round number 3, but I'm like, I have seen Hooper go into the third round and not look good, and he's eked out the decisions he's gone to, but it's really, he's got to finish you with that submission. Caceres, though, against Kron Gracie, I picked him thinking he was going to be able to fight off those submissions, and that didn't go well for me. So, Caceres is just, he's the more variable out of both of the fighters, but I can't put that much money on Hooper. I switched back. Give me Alex Caceres, dirty split decision, my first underdog of the night, plus 115. The line's right. This is a close fight. It's the hype that's giving the money line. It's going to be coin flip, which it pretty much is.
I know. You know what's so weird? It was like, Alex Caceres. I just don't see it. Alex Caceres is one of those people that I see like Shevchenko's sister, kind of a cold, wet fish on the ground. He is awful every time. No offense to Kron Gracie. I know the Gracies are a legacy, and I've shit on him on the show before and got an email about it. But as far as a full MMA package, he is not that thing. So to get submitted by him and put yourself in a position of getting submitted, especially in a smaller cage with a taller guy that can... I just think Chase Hooper is going to have the better submissions, and I don't think Alex Caceres has ever been known as a knockout artist. So he's going to... Alex Caceres kicks a lot. I see him kicking, which kicks, that's up for a takedown. The taller guy snatches him up. Alex Caceres is a cold fish. I think it might... Chase... we're going to see Chase's hands get better. He is not even 21 years old yet, or maybe he just turned 21 or not just 21. But we're going to see his striking get better and better and better. And I hope that Alex Caceres isn't the dude that makes him fall in love with his striking. But actually, I think give me Chase Hooper. I'm going to let him get out of the first round with Bruce Leroy out of respect for the amount. I do like everything Chase Hooper has. I like the guys. I think there's things about the ground game. At this age, taking boxing now without the head trauma and everything. I love everything about Chase Hooper. So give me Hooper submission round 2.
This is horrible. I went back to look at just the history of Caceres. Rear naked choke from, you can't take the 2011. I'll go from 2014. His only losses... Okay, he lost to Rivera by TKO, but he's split decision, rear naked choke loss, split decision, rear naked choke loss, rear naked choke loss on those under. He doesn't get knocked out necessarily, does Caceres, but he does get submitted, which is Chase Hooper. I'm switching back. Give me Hooper submission round number 2. Oh, I'm conflicted. I know what you're saying. I like what you're saying.
I like it too. I'm staying there.
I'm going to go round number 2. Not on my 5-pick championships. I'm going to end up playing some of this one on DraftKings. We got Chase Hooper, 8,500 against Caceres is 7,700. Do you think you're going to be playing either of these fighters as far as DraftKings is concerned?
Yes, I will be playing Chase Hooper on one or two as an expense. I have so many dogs. I might as well put Chase
This is
Hooper
one of those
everywhere.
guys.
And it's so weird because we always are like new guy, high ranking on DraftKings. But the fact that you can get Chase Hooper for less expensive than the lesser Burns brother, that's crazy to me. You might as well go with Chase Hooper. And a guy of Alex Caceres, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, always wins by split decision, always loses by submission. It's time for him to lose by submission. And I think this is a setup. ESPN, we're seeing him with the setups. We're seeing these young kids get fights that behoove them.
I would actually say that Dunham and Caceres are a lot in the same boat.
I think, look at his last loss, look at his last win, and it's like a matchups that I could see. Like, you put another thing just for shits, put Burns and Hooper on everything, and then make a couple parlays.
Just not everything.
Not DraftKings, but make a couple parlays with Burns, Hooper, and then pick some other weird fighters on it, because they're both set up kind of like storylines. Even how quick Herbert Burns got this fight. It just happened.
Right. Oh, it did. Yeah, it was the latest edition of the entire card. So, with days' notice, essentially. But I'm going to go in that Hooper 20% range, Caceres 10%. I haven't gone 100% on anyone lately, and that's really been saving my ass. Even if I lose sometimes on that, sometimes those are the cards that where my closest split fights that I don't see necessarily going the distance, you kind of got to throw both guys. But Caceres at 7-7, he averages 52 points.
I don't like that. I'd rather go with Kelleher in his 70s.
I think you're absolutely making the right call there, but I'm gonna go 20% Hooper, 0% Caceres. I like what you're saying there. You flop me. You flip me and me flop me.
I do not have anything else to say. Business?
Biz. Welcome back to the main card. We have a pay-per-view underway, UFC 250, better known as Fight Pit Championships. We're going for that belt. We're trying to make it all about that belt here. The money on the way is all. That's all in the back end. That all's in the back end. The money is just an extra. It's a dessert on top of that belt. As the real cake. Latby holding it strong. Reigning over, if you guys haven't heard.
I feel like if I had a belt on my shoulder, I automatically might say the word jabroni.
It comes with the territory for sure. But here on the pay-per-view, we're going to have a really fun one. Started off with Sugar Sean O'Malley at 135 pounds, coming in against Eddie Wineland as one of the biggest favorites of the entire night. Wineland being 24-13, the underdog plus 300, is coming off of a win to Gregor Popov in China, I believe. 11 months ago, Right Cross finished it. The trip prior to that, he lost to Alejandro Perez and Dotson via decision, beating Mizugaki and Sainz with a knockout. Underrated boxing for the fireman. He's one of those Stipe Miocic disciples. He still has a day job, and it's still been full-time firefighter.
Oh, he's a firefighter at the same place?
No, he's just a firefighter at a different. But he's a firefighter who has never stopped fighting and never stopped firefighting.
Okay.
So
why would you though? In my opinion, it's kind of a job you can keep and train.
It definitely has its benefits. There's not a lot of
them that you could, but that one you could.
And let's say a fight's coming around, I know that they sack PTO so hard at those jobs that they're like, I can take 3 weeks off and not affect. And then still get paid off pay time.
Normally in life, I would make the smart ass statement like, "When was the last time you seen a structural fire?" But when
we
there's
just
riots, it's like,
well, they just let him burn anyways.
Eddie, get to work. What's he doing fighting Sugar?
So here, Wineland, at 35 years old, has been a long time former WEC champion, fighting against all of those legends, being a part of one of the most legendary losses, I feel like, coming in as a humongous favorite to Johnny Eduardo, where he got knocked out in seconds and broke his jaw in all sorts of places. Didn't think he would come back. He's since come back and had over 8 fights, in with some power punchers and Dotson in there. But 11 months ago, Popov should have been able to get it done in Wineland with his beautiful boxing. And it's a lot of his feints. Going back and watching a lot of his fights, he really sets guys up with feints. He'll feint it out 2 shots, they'll bite on it, and he comes in with that right really well. He has a good stepping outside left foot with a right cross, as he's gotten many of finishes, but go to the body and head well. He'll throw in those calf kicks every once in a while, but he's really just kind of a wrestler boxer. On the ground and on top, he's good, but he's not necessarily going to be shooting too many takedowns. Out of both fighters, Wineland would be the one shooting the takedown. But I don't think he wants anything on the ground with O'Malley. O'Malley looks like one of those gangly spiders that's going to reach everything up. Sugar Shane has a perfect 11-0 in there, even though one of them was a controversial disqualification to his opponent, where he was getting beat handedly, and then one weird shot to the back of the head, and he couldn't continue and won on the scorecard or something like that. So via DQ. But other than that, O'Malley's been nothing but hot in here, being all sorts of hyped up. Same with that Cooper. In that Hooper range where Sugar Sean has a humongous... If you're talking about Twitch, you're talking about Sugar Sean. He's one of these guys that's making tons of money on Twitch, on his weed products.
I probably need to add Sugar and Mighty Mouse on my Twitch.
Interesting. They got enough of a following.
Yeah, they don't need my following.
Yeah, they're good.
They don't need my raid.
So, here Sugar Sean is a long striker, more of a Taekwondo guy.
All roads lead back to Twitch.
So, Sugar Shane, coming off of a win 2 months ago to Quinones as a big favorite, but Quinones is really not that high of a level of fighter, unfortunately. But a lot of kicks in here. The thing with Sugar Shane is he's live and die by the kicks, where Silk Hamtath could have beat him if he would have had a bit of fight IQ in there. But O'Malley's feet and hands break a lot, and he's still young at 25 in his career, throws a lot of those kicks. He doesn't do well when you check, and Eddie Wineland can check a good amount of kicks. Eddie Wineland also has very elusive hands where he'll put them down a lot and actually use tons of head movement. It can be really scary against a good kicker like O'Malley.
I hate that this is a main card.
Because he will fucking duck right into one of those kicks. But the level of experience Wineland has to the level of experience O'Malley has, we've seen this all night. It's been a tale of this kind of tape. I don't think the minus 400 is justified here for O'Malley. He's beat nobody even close to the level of Wineland. Even if Wineland's lost some controversial ones, O'Malley's just not there. In that sense, I think that Wineland can keep it up striking long enough to turn this into a grind and he doesn't get finished. Give me the over 2.5. Give me O'Malley decision, but I can't. It's O'Malley, or it's Wineland that I'm just kind of fading a bit more. But he's looked great. He looked great in his last one, and he's not traveling that far. I could see myself even switching via weigh-ins to Wineland. Give me O'Malley, dirty split, decision. Minus 400 is ridiculous.
I totally agree with everything you said, and I'm even the O'Malley decision. And the reason I have O'Malley decision is I feel like he would have a lean from ESPN, a lean from the UFC, that if it was on the fence, they're going to go with the kid that can make them the most money, which is easily Sugar. Also, Wineland only wins by knockout, and Sugar has a decent chin. So that overhand right can get caught with some kicks. I'm not looking for this to go to the ground. I think the better hands are Wineland, the better kicks are O'Malley's. The thing I like about Sean O'Malley is he's of the camp of one of those guys with him and his friends where they literally play UFC games to figure out new combinations. And I think his coach is like his bestie too. And they're doing kind of something new school. So I like your dirty split here. I don't think this is an easy walkthrough for Sugar. I think a lot of people are going to have it that way because the hype is so big. But Eddie has done nothing to... that's exactly what everyone said about Popov. Wasn't he just as big of an underdog?
Not that big, but he was still an underdog, and yeah.
And there's some of the fights of the people that he's lost to where I would love to see how Sugar would fare against John Dodson. I would love to see how Sugar would fare against Alejandro Perez, which could be a fight we end up seeing after this. Winner, Perez versus O'Malley, and I wouldn't be mad about it, but I like the dirty split. O'Malley decision.
So, on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 400 favorite of O'Malley. It is... Oh, well, my salaries went up.
You can see a nasty knockout, though, too, for O'Malley.
If he ducks right into it. 9,300 for O'Malley against Eddie Wineland's 6,900.
Even setting him up to duck into it. That last Sugar Shane knockout was, against Quinones. That wasn't the one that he could have had better. It was Handhath. That could have been the better ring IQ. Quinones was a legit fight. I was actually really surprised. I even might have had Quinones in that. I don't remember. I do love Sugar, so I can't imagine picking against him. But Eddie's dangerous. I really like Eddie
agree.
too. I rarely pick against Eddie Wineland.
I'm going to end up playing a little bit more Eddie Wineland here for 9-3. Average points O'Malley is 94 points. Eddie Wineland is 55, but at 6'9", Eddie Wineland's more likely to get to that number.
If he wins, it could be a knockout. But that's the exact same
Right.
reason that I could see him getting knocked out, is because he throws everything into the punches.
I think you got to have a little bit of Wineland in this spot, and I'm not going to be as heavy in O'Malley, where last week I was telling you guys Rodriguez is a lock, 125 points on DraftKings, absolute lock. O'Malley isn't for minus 400.
I'm changing mine to O'Malley knockout. I can see, I like the ducking that you're saying when the feints don't work on O'Malley, and if they've watched enough of his fights. One of the bad parts of these fighters, especially like WEC, when you go that far back, there's so much tape.
Right.
There's so much talent, so much tape, and
tape.
these are two kids that geek out on tape. I just feel like they would not. They're hand selecting Sean O'Malley's fights right now. Everything. I'm gonna go with O'Malley KO. Round number 2, I think he sets up, watches the feints, do some like kick to the side, kick to the side, kick to the side. He goes to block that kick to the side, kick to the head, knockout. Shin to the head.
Fun one. Fight Big Championships is on the line this time. So
I'm going to have to see what Alpha picks.
Then we move on to 170 pounds, where we have a fight of the night contender in my eyes. This is one that kept me up all night. Woo, I was telling you about that. This was one of them.
It's always Anthony Rocco Martin.
It is Rocco. With a name like Rocco, how could you? How could you not need a shower? So, the American Top Team disciple, 17-5, Rocco Martin, is finally coming off of a win, only losing to Damian Maia, getting a little bit of a win streak going on, being a plus money puesta a few times over, and cashing again and again, especially against the Russian in M. Eve. Here against Magny, it is going to be an uphill battle. Neil Magny, being 22-7, coming off of a steroid suspension, looked better than he ever has against Li Jinliang 2 months ago, which I picked the Leech in that one. Magny came and shut me up. That was 30-25.
Yeah, he looked so good in that
he
fight.
was unreal. Elevation Top Team is undefeated so far this year, and Neil Magny is another guy to try to keep them in that elevation level. So Magny's going to come extra cardio. He has his jab against Li Jinliang looked better than it's ever looked in his entire career, and his grappling has always been one of these guys that in the third round is his best round. It's where he really puts it on you and can really wilt guys in this position. And here against Rocco Martin, who has some high-level training partners, no longer Colby Covington, which we didn't talk about. Colby Covington left ATT.
It's official.
Official. We saw it coming. Apparently,
I didn't. I kept saying the whole thing was a work.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a lot of heat, and guess what? They're going to trade Colby Covington for literally 5 champions there. I think Colby's got to go. Sorry, Colby, but you lost that belt. And I love me some Colby Covington. I bet on
5
that
champions
mofo.
where?
At American Top Team.
But they're going to trade Colby Covington to who for 5 champions?
Oh, no, they just got rid of it because supposedly like 4 or 5 of these champions or former champions would leave if Colby stayed.
Oh, okay.
Not that that was officially out there, but
Orange Man bad.
We all know.
Orange Man bad.
Correct. So he was definitely an easy target, and it was hard to find him training partners, and it's like, okay, well, something's got to give here.
I have to say, speaking of Orange Man bad, if you have a fucking Molotov cocktail in your hand, or a crowbar, or you are destroying some mom and pop business, do something fucking better with yourself.
Our fans don't stoop to that level. I'm just going to throw that out there right now.
Thank you. Straightening me up. Back to Rocco Martin. I don't even have to go further with it.
So, definitely, with Rocco Martin, as I'm saying, he's a little cash cow for me. He's a little piglet for me, shaking that money out of there. Put it together once he went to American Top Team.
If you're a fan and you're a fucking dirty ass cop that's putting your knee on somebody's head for however long till they can't breathe, we don't have those fans either.
We don't have those fans either. Okay. Those are not our fans.
Those are both sides of it.
I think the name Lat B, if you know what it stands for, pretty much sways you away from those guys right away.
Those people with knee on their head.
So Rocco Martin, His striking has been on point. The fact that he didn't get submitted by Damian Maia, I feel like is a really big tell in that, even though he did start to wilt in that third round in Brazil. Rocco Martin, being one of these guys that openly bets on himself, he bets his purses on himself. Talk about pressure. But hey, some guys need that kind. And against Neil Magny, you're going to need every bit.
Those Boston guys need that.
Of that. So, how about the narrative Boston guys going to Florida and winning?
Huh.
Steamroller, Flaviola,
true.
Qatar.
True.
Who else is there? I think Burgos, but maybe they stayed up in Boston. I could be wrong on those.
That's an interesting one. I am not opposed.
So, Rocco Martin, though, what I feel like here in this fight is Neil Magny has the cardio advantage. I feel like the striking is pretty much even. I love Neil Magny's jab, but Rocco Martin's jab has been just as good as of late as well. So this is just mixed up to have fun scrambles on the ground. Neil Magny, even though he does get on top later in those rounds, I feel like Rocco Martin knows how to transition out of those. Magny is a black belt, I believe, at this point, but not on the Damian Maia level. And I feel like Rocco Martin's going to be able to just keep up that pace. Those knees to the body is what worries me for Magny, or against Magny in the clinch. But what I think the biggest game changer of this entire fight is going to be the calf kick. And Rocco Martin has been steadily using that calf kick as many ATT guys have.
And Magny got them skinny legs.
And Magny specifically against Ponzinibbio, ATT guy, against Dos Santos, and what was the other loss where I played a big one? Ponzinibbio, he tore that apart. And there was one other one in there he might have won where the calf kick still really... Lorenz Larkins early in his career. But it was all set up by them calf kicks. And I feel like that's what's going to happen because with Magny and with most like Dominic Cruz, what we found out, and we've been telling you here at Lab B, a cardio guy, his legs are his tool. So you start to beat up those legs, he can have all the cardio in the world. When you can't move forward because your fucking leg is, because the nerve in your leg is dead, you can't move forward, and that doesn't matter about cardio. Takes the power
off your punches. Can't get a takedown.
Right. And it's just, I feel like it's a vulnerability specifically that we've seen against Neil Magny. When you rely on your
speed and somebody takes that away.
Right. Yeah. When you rely on your cardio and someone kicks your legs out, you're like, okay, this is a different fight. So, give me Rocco Martin in a decision. I could even see a finish in the later rounds, but I think Neil Magny grinds out any fight in there. He's not an easy fight for anyone. Give me the underdog plus 120. Give me Rocco Martin. I'm going to be betting that side as well. Who do you have in this fight?
Love it. All the same reasons. I haven't felt good about Neil Magny, and even when I look through his win streaks, the guys he's beating are guys on the tail end. We love the Leech for the Leech, but we say it about him all the time. Hey, Leech, just fight in China and dope up. Dope up. We love the Leech. He's rowdy. He always makes for an exciting fight in there. He totally goes out on his sword. Ponzinibbio, next level, dude. Where's Ponzinibbio? Still don't know. The only guy that could wedge up and change this division for any way that actually makes it interesting, that could a striker fare well against these top wrestlers. Ponzinibbio is one of the only guys that I'm like curious.
You're telling me he can make this division great again?
I think it might be Ponzinibbio. It might be up to Ponzinibbio.
I think there's murderers getting into 170, 55ers. Yes, Ponzinibbio is a good addition, but not one man can do it. It takes a community.
One man.
Exactly.
It takes a whole group. And then the Carlos Condit win. Don't care about that. I feel like Carlos' head has been out of the game for so long.
We've been betting against him for years.
And losing to Rafael, like I've been trying to fade Rafael, and he's like lose 3, win 1, lose 3, win 1.
Neil Magny.
I also think if you listen to this show long enough, you know this is a mildly biased pick. I think we've been pulling for Rocco Martin his whole way through. But that being said, we got to be right about some of the hype trains and ride their train the whole time. And Rocco Martin's one of those quiet ones that nobody's jumping on, but he's just been doing his damn thing the whole way through.
Both of these guys, though, so is Magny for that matter. They're both young men. 3 years old for Magny, 28 for Rocco Martin. I can take a shower right now.
It's UFC years, and Magny's been in them wars.
Out of the two fighters, he's the one who gets in the wars.
He's chinier. If we were to do the glass chin here,
I'm going to say glass shin.
Both. I like it though, but I like your Martin decision, and I could even see the leg kick set up to like a left or a right or a good combo, like kicking his leg out from under and then catching him on that, and seeing the knockout ladder and maybe like end of round 2, beginning of round 3. But I'm going to go with Martin decision right now, and I love him. He's one of my favorite. He's one of the guys I never remember how much I love him until he's on here. I feel like kind of the whole fight cards.
There is so many good fights on here, and I was giving the other fight week saying it was going to be better.
So much better. I was like.
And I think that showed out, though. That was an A+. It
turned out more than anyone expected. It beat
so it's still good. So, but this one is beating my expectations the more I'm looking into it. Because initially looking at it, they added a couple fun fights. Because it was going to be almost Jessica Icovey level.
And it's kind of crazy. It's like a lot of American fighters are people fighting out of America right now.
Love it.
I know, but it's just when you think of how big our roster is. Like... we're just seeing it, they're making a
there's not too many fighters that are not like, I want to go to America and train. Like, there's not many opposed to that. Most of them are like,
I know, but everyone's locked somewhere else right now. So
yeah, right.
We're still in like the
option.
COVID. We're in like stage 5 of the end game.
They're making Felicia Spencer a full-blown Canadian, and she lived there when she was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And they're like, Canadian pride, she has never trained at all in Florida her whole life.
Or what about, what's her face, the Brazilian, Mackenzie Dern's last week? Did you see her in her interview?
No.
She was all, how do you say?
Portuguese, porra.
I did not know.
So, back on to...
IDC champ. Is that what you say for your champ?
So, back to Neil Magny, Rocco Martin. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,700 for the favorite, Neil Magny, against Rocco Martin, $7,500. If you don't know better, I'm going to be going at least 40% on Rocco Martin. Slightly on Magny, just because if he gets his volume game going, he throws out a lot of volume.
Is it like linchpin?
No, Rocco Martin's not a linchpin.
I haven't heard you say 40% yet. I've heard you say a lot of 10s.
A lot of 10s, a lot of 20s.
Maybe there's a linchpin to come?
There's still fights to come, but this one's definitely one of those that I am looking at the underdog a lot. Oh my gosh,
the next fight could be a fight of the year.
Absolutely fight of the year contender. This one could be a main event of next week.
I agree.
All day. So, at 135 pounds, we have Corey Sandhagen coming in against Aljamain Sterling. The Funk Masters coming in with an 18-3 record, coming off of a 4-fight winning streak. Last beating Pedro Munoz in a decision, Jimmy Rivera, Cody Stamen in an E-bar, and Brett Johns, all decisions. Only losing to Marias on a previous, 8-fight winning streak.
Which is bullshit.
Coming out of that Sarah Longo gym.
I just didn't like it because the stopped the fight, chit-chatted, and then said go, and then it was like Aljo got caught.
Need, right in the gap.
Yeah, it was like he was winning that fight up until then, in my opinion.
Definitely there is that argument to be said, but Sterling comes in with a Genevieve's game plan. He ended up going back to the drawing board, he said, from that Marias fight, because, again, he was on that winning streak and really said he's turned it around, and he's looked great. Really showing off his kicks, really using a lot of his length in his kicks. The fights I was watching, if you didn't see some of that tape study earlier, against Munoz, I'm really high on Munoz. I bet him against Garbrandt, made a shit ton of money on that one. But here, in that, going back to that fight, Munoz is a tough guy, and he really put it on him. What I didn't remember was how gassed Aljo was. Both of them, for that matter.
Yeah.
Lot of teeps, lot of body shots. Aljo really worked on there. The anti-wrestling worked in his favor. Aljamain Sterling's hands are really not that good, and he really sets up his best strikes off of a kick. Then he'll come in with a 3-punch combo. But whenever Aljo comes in with just his hands, he usually ends up on the wrong side of exchanges. And against Sandhagen, he's got to worry about a tricky trickster in here at 12-2. We witnessed his mastery against Lineker. We watched that jab come from everywhere. We watched the Ducci kicks from Ernesto
He reminds me
Hoost.
of Dominic Cruz in a way, especially with his right. He comes in with this weird step into a body, like a body shot.
Right.
And the way he ducks his head, so if he were to get hit, he'd take it all on his forehead. But he comes in and lunges forward, and it's just one of those shots that it's not a fight ender. But by the middle of the second round, and you took 4 or 5 of them, you're not your game plan's off.
He puts it on you, for sure. He kills you by 1,000 cuts, but he will submit you as well with triangles, arm bars, has a lot of that wonderful chain wrestling that we like to talk about here. He will, on the ground, or chain jiu-jitsu, where he will just switch, and there's many fights that when I was watching the tape where Sam Hagen, even if the round runs out, that was just 3 submission attempts that dude had to work out of. So he's constantly making you work. Coming out of the Team Elevation, they're on a good streak right now. He's got Neil Magny and all of his homeboys ready to go. Drew Dober, Gaethje, all these motherfucking beasts, Overeem. So something's clicking over there right now.
Cardio kings right
Absolutely now. Absolutely at elevation. And that's where I feel like Aljo is going to potentially take this first round. By far, his first round is his best round. But into that second, he starts to slow down. And that third round is borderline hang on. That's where he's showing his next level, championship level standard, where this could be for the belt, essentially, and I wouldn't be mad at it. But
that's a really good point. This totally could be for the belt.
Absolutely.
There's no reason it's not.
Right. Cejudo left.
Yeah, they should
the
totally make it a co-main for the belt.
Who is it? Peter Yan, fucking Aldo is for the belt. Because Cejudo stepped away.
Yeah, but F that. This is a
and this is the number one contender spot, is what they say.
Yeah, totally. Jan for wherever he's from and however big his
against
name
the
is,
double loser in
like
fucking
Russia,
Aldo.
and then Aldo. I know they're bigger names for what you're trying to do, but Aljamain Sterling. You're so right. This is the real fight for the belt.
So what I feel like is going to happen is this is going to be a dirty, close split on the ground.
The fight you're saying versus the winner of this fight, that's going to be for the belt.
That's the real belt, but the actual, it's Aldo freaking Peter Yan is for the belt. So either way, here with Sam Hagen, I think that he is going to have more volume and going to keep working if he gets off of his back. He's got good takedown defense, and Aljo would be smart to throw those takedowns in there, but he really doesn't enough, even though he has those grappling credentials. He usually keeps it up. He usually uses wrestling in reverse. But I think Sam Hagen is the craftier striker here. He feints a lot more, and especially in that third round, he's proven, and we've seen it in real life, that he just keeps going, where I feel like it's going to be a clear third round for Sam Hagen, a clear first round for Aljamain Sterling, and that second round, I think Aljo wins the first part of it, and Sam Hagen the second. And I think the judges give it to Sam Hagen in a controversial, dirty split. This is a coin flip for a reason. Either guy's live to finish. I think Sandhagen is the more likely finisher out of the two, but I think it goes all 3 rounds. Give me the slight underdog at minus 110, minus 120 coin flip of a fight. You're not getting plus money on either guy.
Both guys are so good. I think this is the first of maybe even a trilogy fight we see, especially in this division.
They're young enough.
They're both so great. They're both clinched up at the top that it's Aljo's story to lose by how long he's been in the game. But we've been talking about UFC miles a lot today. Mm-hmm. Who has far more UFC miles? Aljamain.
Sure.
But his fights, other than that brutal knockout, it was so brutal it seems like it was his last fight. But there's been so many fights in between that he still has to keep proving himself from that Moraes knockout. Whereas Sandhagen's one of those guys... he does keep his chin up a little bit. Sometimes he does eat shots. We see a lot of his ego gets in. He has this. He does remind me of TJ in that way, where he fights with so much ego. I like it. I think he's a talker inside the octagon, and I like it. I think this is going to be such an interesting fight. I think these guys fill in each other's holes everywhere. It's like wrestling and a little jiu-jitsu, a little wrestling on one side too, striking, kicks. I think Sandhagen has the length, and he has the UFC youth, even though it's only 2 years in the real world, a little over 2 years. Aljo has so much to prove right now, and I think the pressure is on Aljo. I think both guys have a good chin, so this is 100% going to go to decision. I think if you want to look at who the UFC wants to win more, I think that's Sandhagen. I think Aljo is going to have the more dynamic strikes with more power. Sandhagen's going to have more of those. Sandhagen doesn't mind fighting off his back. A submission could totally come. He is one of those guys, though, like Shabazian, where, if you're really going to go for the championship, you're Khabib. You're good the whole way through. the whole way through, and that's kind of how I see Corey Sandhagen. Aljo is one of those names on the list. Give me Corey Sandhagen decision. It's so nerve-wracking. I think both guys are probably, it could be a stack. What are they worth?
I love it because I was actually about to say that this is definitely stack worthy with 8,200 for the slight favorite in Aljamain Sterling against Corey Sandhagen's 8,000 even on DraftKings, as we're saying, a coin flip. But on average, 75 points for Sterling, average 105 for Sandhagen in this spot. So I could see one guy getting in that 60, one guy getting in that 80 range. So
if you're doing the televised only cards on DraftKings where you
that's
need a lower
play.
fighter, this might be your lower fighter to pick over somebody that you anticipate getting completely finished.
Right. Out of the two, though, I feel like if I don't stack it, I'm going to more than likely be on Sandhagen just because of the volume. He does throw 7 punches to the 4 per minute for Aljo, so he can double up on that. So just with the volume there, I do think Hagen is a slight edge on DraftKings.
I really love Aljo. Looking at these two, these are two of my favorite fighters that I don't give enough shine on the show. I think I do. I'm always all over Sandhagen, but I really love Aljo.
Me too.
I think he's
such a fun fight. I can't wait for that. I know we usually talk about not paying the pay-per-view, especially for this one, but that alone could be a pay-per-view worthy bout, I feel like.
Pay-per-view co-main, maybe?
Easy.
Definitely on a pay-per-view fight. It is on a pay-per-view fight. I don't know if it could be the main event of the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
but it could be easily a main event of a fight night.
Absolutely. Then we get
you
into
almost hot burped it.
Then we get into the co-main event of the evening at 135 pounds. We have former champion Cody Garbrandt coming in against Rafael Assunção. The 27-7 fighter has been one of those long-time grindiest of grinders, always making your money with Assunção, perennial underdog who just always, as we've been saying, makes it a bad grindy fight.
Yeah,
you always look at it and you're like, dang, that was a lot grosser of a fight than I thought. Solid striking. The master or the high level that Assunção has is definitely going to be on the ground with his grinding ability and submission ability. Striking wise, he's serviceable. He's not going to blow you out. He does have a few knockouts, but it's against some lower level guys in there. He's definitely more of the decision fighter, but he's one of those guys that will just always turn it into a dirty type of a split. He's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak to Marlon Moraes in a submission where he was hurt, then guillotine. Then he lost to Sandhagen in a decision where he was just beat 30-27 pretty handedly. And against Cody Garbrandt here, the 11-3 fighters only lost in the UFC, only the belt options as of late to Pedro Munoz, TKO over a year ago, then TJ both of those times prior. We see that Garbrandt can get a little in his own head, and once he gets hurt a little bit, he goes in swinging. And against Assunção, I don't necessarily see him being in that deer in headlights, being stunned by a shot where he all of a sudden is like, you hit me with a good shot, I'm going to get after you. Assunção doesn't necessarily do that. He more just pick you apart, get a takedown, win the round. Cody Garbrandt has excellent takedown defense in here. It's not shown enough, but that's what really keeps him in that sprawl and brawl style that does him so well against the low-level competition he's beat. And even high-level with Dominic Cruz, it's keeping the fight where he wants it, is being it with the crisper boxing. Great jab, great straight left, good leg kicks, but Assunção, I feel like, has as varied kick ability as Cody Garbrandt. I'm going to give Garbrandt the power and speed here as well. And the gas tank is where it's going to be a little bit close. We saw him go heavy 5. The other ones have been too short. We haven't seen that gas tank. But we know Assunção can go a hard 3 waking up tomorrow.
Without even thinking about it.
Assunção's going to go a hard fucking 3. So I feel like here, I want to go with Assunção. I feel like he can eke out a dirty split. But I think it matters that he can't get it to the ground. I feel like Cody Garbrandt has good enough takedown defense to keep it striking and win these exchanges and slightly hurt Assunção and win it 9 or 10-9, where he just kind of wobbles Assunção a bit more. Maybe ends up on top. It's rapid punches, but I don't necessarily see the finish coming. I think Assunção's too tough for that and smart for that. I got Cody Garbrandt decision, but I could see myself switching to a Assunção decision and that ultimate grind. This is a close one for a reason. Almost a coin flip. Minus 145 Garbrandt. I think he keeps it striking. I think he edges out a 29-28 type of a fight as well. What a bunch of close fights. Who are you going to have in this one and why?
Oh my gosh. So I've gone back and forth about this one. And unfortunately for Cody Garbrandt, he is a fucking head case. And because he handed Dominic Cruz a brittle old scarecrow made of glass that I know everybody cannot fathom that people age and that, you don't know how he was in the WEC, you need to watch this. I understand, but he isn't that anymore. And he was hurt in that fight. He didn't really want to take that fight. He takes the fight. Cody dances around and looks really great and whatever. Assunção's one of those grinders. Grind. Always in there. Never going to get any shine. Never going to get a title shot, no matter who he beats or how he wins. Cody could get a title shot off this fight. If Assunção wins, he won't even be mentioned. Like, it won't even matter. He's still... There's just certain guys that the UFC pulls for, and Garbrandt's one of those dudes that they pull for. Unfortunately, I kind of feel like Assunção is better everywhere. The Sandhagen decision that he just fought in is better than anything Cody's done of the last 3 years. Like, Cody's memory of the Dom fight is the same as, like, Chris Weidman breaking Silva's leg.
It's the high school football player that's like, I made that touchdown. I made that throw touchdown back in the 80s.
Remember that book I wrote and I walked in with that blonde kid? Like, Cody seems like a nice dude. He's just like a hothead tattooed guy. And I think that hothead eventually, I don't think every fight is a potential loss. He can't afford to lose again. And that is everything where I feel like Assunção goes in here. It's another day. It's another day in the office. So unless he gets totally screwed, which I could see happening for one desperate attempt for them to give no love another shot, I see Assunção walking away with the decision here. I just don't think Cody can stay out of his own head for 15 minutes. I think somewhere in that 15 minutes, Assunção is going to make some sort of strike that just makes Cody the same Cody. Like, if we go with what we know, when was the last time when you saw Cody dancing around the ring with Dom, doing those little fun dances, making like little fun moves at Dom? You guys, that is so long ago. That's so long ago. I was in high school when that happened.
Oh, you just aged yourself. Good job. Good job.
So I think I'm going to go with the Assunção decision, and it feels really uncomfortable to say. And I know everybody loves no love. I get it. I get the whole gimmick. I get the shtick. He's the hipster. He should have a pocket watch. I get it. He's so steampunk. I get it. I'm going to go with the Assunção. And I hate it. I don't think I ever picked Assunção on anything. He's so boring.
That's exactly. He makes a grinding, boring fight. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 145 favorite.
Who is the better cardio, you think?
Assunção. I think Assunção. Garbrandt, 8,600 slight favorite there against... Garbrandt's the 8,600 against Assunção, 7,600. I don't necessarily see... I see a decision as well, so it's going to be hard for me to be putting Garbrandt on a lot of spots. I'm going to go 10% Garbrandt, 10% Assunção.
Cody's going to be swinging for the fences.
There's
no way he's going to go in and win a decision.
But that's why. If he gets a win, it's going to be a knockout. Oh, damn it! I can see him hurting him, though. Losing the whole round.
Assunção's been known to be chinny
but this
years
is where
ago.
Right?
Assunção was chinny when Garbrandt won last.
So, I'm going to probably be having a low amount of exposure to this.
I'm predicting
low
this
amount
now.
of exposure.
This is even a better prediction. Garbrandt loses and goes down to 125.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
Yeah, I think he already put his hat in the ring for that when he lost last time.
Crazy.
So, anyway, yeah.
So,
Cody.
limited exposure on that
no love for
fight.
no love.
So, definitely moving on to the pay-per-view headliner, the main event.
You've been talking about this for weeks.
This is one I can't get out of my head.
This is why you've been in bed watching this.
At 145 pounds, we have the math teacher coming against the mother in weight, Amanda Nunes. Nina Asneroff looking all sorts of thick in there. Them hips are getting ready to birth the baby if you've been watching the Embedded.
No, I haven't.
Oh,
she's tonight though.
She's got that glow. She's got that glow on.
Nina, you're speaking my language.
She's going to come in and fight at 145
Like
pounds, I tell you what.
Give me a little dick.
She's easily going to be the next mom champ. So, Nunes
Mother of dragons.
coming in with an immaculate record, beating legends of legends upon legends against the up-and-coming phenom.
Really the only unarguable GOAT in woman in all of MMA?
Amanda Nunes.
Like, no one can argue it. It's not a...
She's
it's
finished
nothing you
all
can
of the other greats.
She's never popped for some dirty shit. You can't put an asterisk by it. Like, there is no other... Anyone you would argue with it, she's beat them.
Absolutely.
So I just... because UFC, you know, people can talk about whether Mighty Mouse or John Jones or the... No, it's Amanda Nunes.
It's Amanda Nunes. And here, she's going to have... So what some people think is a softball setup fight with Felicia Spencer, who's only had 3 fights in the UFC? 4? 3 fights in the UFC, winning against Megan Anderson in her debut, losing to Cyborg in a decision, and as of late beating Sarah Farn in a TKO ground and pound 3 months ago. Who's Sarah Farn? Who the fuck is Sarah Farn that you get a title shot after beating?
I think it's that black lady.
Okay.
And I think she has braids.
And eyeballs and arms and legs. Get the fuck out of here. An absolute nobody. But that's the division being created for people that aren't in
It
there.
was created for Cyborg.
So, who left the Bellator?
Who took her ball and went home.
And went home after she got beat up by Amanda Nunes. But before that, she beat Spencer in a gutsy performance where she just decisioned her, and Spencer just took a beating of a lifetime in there, showing the heart and will. And that's where, as far as backing Spencer in this position, I don't feel like she's not going to fight for your money. Spencer's an up-and-comer who knows where she's at, and in every fight, she's only shown that she's in there to try to get the win. Even when she's losing, she's not wilting in there. And that's the best people you want to that's who you want to bet on. The thing is that at this point of her career, she's just completely outmatched against one of the all-time greats, somebody who will be in the Hall of Fame no matter what. She has beat our girl Valentina Shevchenko twice.
Those are her best 2 wins.
Knocking out Holly Holmes.
I don't care.
Home.
I still think her best win, because everything else was like so fast and like such
Knocking
a
out Pennington. Cyborg knocking out Cyborg.
I felt like the Cyborg, there was so
Knocking
much.
out Ronda Rousey.
It's like the Ngannou though. Like those are like Ngannou. You know how you rushed forward in his last thing against Rosenstruck? It was like, well, who could stop that onslaught? It was almost like a similar type thing.
I would even say the Raquel Pennington knockout means more because that's a woman who beat her, who she came back and was like, hey, check this out, bitch.
Not Pennington.
Yeah, Pennington beat her.
Beat her.
Yes, she did.
Ngannou.
And Kat Zingano did. She's got 4 losses. I thought
I don't think Rocky ever did. She schooled Rocky from fucking...
maybe she had 2-0 against her.
I don't think Rocky ever did.
So either way,
but maybe.
The difference, ATT, the bigger gym, even though Spencer's training out of Florida, Nunes has got that championship in the back there.
Do you like... What about those GDR sub attempts on Amanda Nunes?
You're so right. She never lost to Pennington. She lost to...
I know my lesbians.
And Davis.
How dare you?
You're absolutely right. She worked Pennington. So, here in this spot, I mean, it's the power is the biggest differential. Felicia Spencer hasn't shown us she has that type of power because Cyborg ate her best shot and kept walking through it, where Cyborg tried to eat Amanda Nunes' best shot and was like,
that was true. She stepped onto the ice. Homegirl stepped onto the ice. Like, don't come inside. Oh,
So, it's really that power, but to take down the fence on the ground, she's a black belt, legitimately. So is Spencer, for that matter, and really shown a good game. But
I would say Spencer's better on the ground than Amanda Nunes.
But I feel like, even though she's better, she's not going to submit
she hasn't
Nunes.
Had combat.
Correct.
Jiu-jitsu.
And she's not going to land a crazy amount of strikes. Nunes is going to be able to get up. Maybe the gas tank, but Nunes has been in nothing but 5-round fights for how long? And she's had multiple fights.
Yeah.
This isn't a brand new fight for her. She's been the champ knowing something was going to come down the line for a while. The positive compared to most other guys like T. Wood and Ferguson that had fights drop out, she didn't really have fights drop out. Her time frame has always been this. It was just her opponent was always different. But being the champ, it could be fucking anyone, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get paid $1 million in pay-per-view shares.
Do you love Amanda Nunes' ring IQ?
Yes, it's been
Really?
proven
I
against
think it's
Shevchenko.
garbage.
Shevchenko's one of the highest IQs in there, and she
I
was able
know,
to beat it
some of
twice. So you gotta give it the IQ. You gotta.
I don't know. I think that's still power, though. Shevchenko is the only, like, one of the only people to onslaught those punches as a far smaller woman. Like, a lot of that is how much pain and power did Shevchenko have to eat to lose position.
But I feel like Nunes even outstruck her in volume in those fights. I could be wrong. But
I don't know. I even think that second one, I might have argued with myself. I might have watched it in non-biased rewatch because there might have been takedowns involved. But I think those takedowns are because she bulldozes women. I do not think she is going to be able to bulldoze Felicia Spencer. Felicia Spencer is, other than Chris Cyborg, the only, well, I guess Megan Anderson to take that for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Felicia Spencer is a true 145er.
Absolutely in there. Nunes beat Shevchenko 86-72 their first fight. No, I'm wrong. 39-28 their first fight with 2 takedowns. 1 takedown for Shevchenko. In the second fight, 86-72 with 2 takedowns only
I think that's
for Nunes.
fine, but I'm also, Amanda Nunes fights at 145 right now. Shevchenko fights at 125. Like, that 20 pounds at this small a weight is enormous. So to be that much smaller of a woman and to come even to your second time around where it's an arguably that people are like, I thought you won that fight or whatever. I don't know. It was a bulldozing of Ronda Rousey, so we didn't really have to see her doing anything. Miesha Tate was already broken from the Rocky Pennington fight. She was, like, put back together with super glue and a fake nose, and they were like, here's Amanda Nunes, Miesha. And Miesha, like, literally, I think if you rewatch that, after the first punch, hands over face, like, she is done.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't want none of that. Cyborg, wow. And the punches she ate from Chris Cyborg,
wow.
unbelievable.
Wow.
Her GDR fight, she didn't get caught, but GDR has no ground game.
Absolutely.
But she did not want to stand on the feet with GDR at all.
And you're right with Spencer. She does have some Taekwondo accolades. I think a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu and Taekwondo. But she specifically throws a really sneaky head kick that's in arm's range. Like, she throws it sneakily close. That could, I see, sneaking up on Nunes, but I gotta say, Shevchenko probably threw somewhere along those same kicks and they never really landed. But I like what you're saying. I like Spencer. She's gonna be a perennial top contender in there. But right now, I think just the power is such a differential. Miesha Tate said it herself. Why Miesha Tate's picked Nunes for every fight since then. Even in Cyborg, she's like, Nunes is the only fighter that hit me like a man.
How long, though, can she lay that out?
As of late, she's had some really high-level performances. She's had some big stats. 78 strikes against Darren Domi. 79 strikes for Darren Domi.
It was a 5-round fight.
Five
That's
rounds.
Not very many strikes.
124 against Pennington in a 5-round fight.
Pennington was a punching bag.
She was a punching bag. I got round number 3, Nunes. I think she gets the finish. I think Spencer's going to be valiant in there, but she eats a little too many shots, and eventually she's going to be like, ooh, these hurt too much. I could see myself switching that to 2. Weigh-ins, I don't think is going to matter because both of these ladies don't look like they hurt to make 45 at all. So that's not going to play a factor for me. In the smaller cage, bring the heavier puncher out of the 2. I got to finish in this one. Who are you picking and why?
I think something about this fight. I think Amanda Nunes is going to have some ego on this as well. She should. I think she's going to become the heavier favorite toward fight time, that she's like 900 under. I'm telling you guys, I just would not be surprised if Felicia Spencer finishes fight. I'm going to have Nunes by decision because I do think there's times that even though Amanda Nunes is caught in potential submission, that she's still on top and remains on top. A lot of like that GDR fight. I think we see Amanda Nunes run out of power where Felicia Spencer can start eating her punches. I'm going to pick Nunes' decision. I think that it's going to go all 5 rounds. I think Felicia Spencer is a tough bitch. I think she has a lot more muscle under there. I think she's going to feel heavier than anyone Amanda Nunes has had to throw around before. Like significantly bigger. And I even think with Chris Cyborg, she didn't even get to, that would have been a real test of Amanda Nunes to get to see Chris Cyborg lean up against her for a minute, but we didn't even get to see that. This is going to be I'm trying to think. It would probably be Valentina. The last time Amanda Nunes really felt someone lean up against her was probably Val.
Darren Dolamy was close at times, but she hurt her with strikes.
But she just so isn't like think
a
of
ground
Darren.
specialist.
Yeah, like how you would know how to throw your weight against somebody who's not a wrestler, like a boxer. How different that would be. I think that is Felicia Spencer to Jermaine. It would be like asking Felicia Spencer to throw GDR type punches and kicks. I think Felicia Spencer is this. She has this Meerschaert type ground game, that Paul Craig shit. She is that fighter for me.
I don't think
where it's like this sneaky thing that weird ego can get someone caught. So I think it's Amanda Nunes by decision or Felicia Spencer by... And we've seen Amanda Nunes get hurt with strikes with GDR. That GDR fight did not make me feel good about Amanda. I thought...
But I think GDR would potentially beat Spencer too.
I think GDR could potentially get caught in a submission with Spencer.
I could see that as well.
But I don't see Spencer
but
getting
Spencer's,
finished by GDR.
well, I guess I agree with you. I do think Spencer is at this level, especially in this division, but I don't think she's at Nunes' level.
And I think if you're a 145er, it's so hard to get the shine. It was so hard for her to get the fight. So the siphon for her to get to this point is like 3 fights in, you're with the champion. But I almost think probably for 145-pound women, if they were fighting anywhere in the world, probably 3 fights in, they'd be fighting, So I'm going to go with Nunes' decision. I think experience. She's been in there 5 rounds. Did we just see Felicia Spencer in there 5 rounds? No, they've been 3. Like you're saying, who is a raw Farn? I'm not worried about a ground and pound. I'm not worried. Do I think Amanda Nunes could get clipped and Felicia Spencer go for a submission? Yes. I think Felicia Spencer is a big bitch. I know bitches like her in school.
Right. I think she did go 5 rounds with Cyborg, just saying.
Felicia Spencer, to me... At 145, this isn't a 135. This is the most dangerous competition that Amanda Nunes has had stylistically at 145 yet.
I'm going to lean away from that one a little bit. I think there's been plenty of other challengers that have been at higher level.
She's a better striker, maybe. I don't know.
This is definitely, I feel like the line is going to keep growing as you're saying, but I don't necessarily feel like that's right because... You're valid. Felicia Spencer's not a fish in there. She's not an Antonina Shevchenko. She's going to get fucking fight for your money. Absolutely 100%. But she's just been around for 4 fights where Amanda Nunes has been around for 15 or something and the champ for 9 of those.
She's a GOAT for a reason.
For the reason. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,400.
When Amanda wins, she's not going to get the credit she should. After this, that's all I'm saying. I think she's gonna win. With that. You think she's gonna knock her out? I think she's still gonna win by submission or decision. But I just think Felicia Spencer's a bad bitch. You guys.
I agree. I totally agree. And if she's an underdog in other spots, she's someone to definitely look out for. But this is just the pit. She's at the tip. She's at the top of Everest right now. Yeah. There's no one higher. So she's got to come.
No, it's really prepared. Amanda and John Jones. After this whole riot happens and the pandemic all goes out, they're going to be having the race of people that bring us to enlightenment. Like, it's the 2 of them. Like, imagine they are going to have some super MMA babies that are going to bring us. I know, isn't that weird?
She's married.
Is she married?
Yeah, she's an online math teacher for a reason. She's making that big money.
Felicia Spencer. Oh. Amanda Nunes.
Oh, Amanda Nunes is married to Nina.
Well, I know her and Nina are together.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know Nina really had a baby on the way.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was all just you talking shit like Nina was gaining weight.
She got the old turkey baster treatment. She went.
I don't know if it's a turkey baster. Amanda is a real.
She a real woman. She a real bitch.
She go out and hunt her.
I'm just telling you, she's gonna make a 45 fucking run.
What are your average scores?
On DraftKings, for the 9,400 favorite, average 100 points for Amanda Nunes against the average 83 points for the 6,800 Felicia Spencer. I'm going to not be going ultra heavy on Nunes here, but I am going to be playing some Spencer as well. I don't think it's a bad call. I don't see it as stack, but I see myself playing more Nunes than Spencer.
Yeah.
But
there could be some sub attempts, from
Right. But I think I'm going to go in that 40% as well for Nunes. I'm going to go like this whole night.
It's either her or, from what I heard,
right?
It's either her or Boston born.
Rocco Martin?
Rocco.
I feel more comfortable with Nunes, but I hate doing that because she's 9'4".
Yeah.
Rocco Martin is who I want to do, but the more confident, and the line shows it, is Amanda Nunes. So I don't like doing that. If you know anything about the PMP, you better be sure you know what's coming your way tomorrow morning.
Oh my gosh, I have more underdogs than I do favorites.
You do.
Amanda Nunes, she's probably one of my linchpins because she's like, okay, I can feel comfortable about this.
She's going to be, so her and Rocco are probably the two, and then I'm going to be mixing it up. But I'm going to have some Magny and I'm going to have some Spencer, but it's going to be in that 10%
I'm feeling
range.
an Amanda Nunes, Brian Kelleher type of thing.
I think I'm going to wait for the next week's fight cards. I feel like there's bigger gaps and more options.
We said everything. We always forget something at the end that we forgot to tell them about it. We talked about John. We talked about this fight card.
This fight card's deep.
Deep.
Are you going to pay for it? Or are you going to end up using one of these Bruce Buffering candles, limited edition, to get you through the night?
I might have to use a Bruce Buffer candle.
Absolutely. I think if it shines bright, they say the stream's clear.
Right? Like Bruce Buffer candle? All right. Well, you guys, thanks for listening. For the YouTube audience, we did miss you, and we'll do better at getting it on. We are still working at technical stuff, other streaming platforms, and everything like that. But it is fun, and we are glad to be out of quarantine. So I love you guys, and thanks for listening.
Let me!